SHOT Show chats, I guess. There's really no name for these. This year, Clover and I decided to start a chat each Tuesday to talk about SHOT Show and what's so good about it. Uh, get people prepped for the show, answer questions. I think we had some topics along the way. Today we're gonna do some loose ends, and then is that what we're gonna do? And then next week it'll be last minute stuff, I think. So this week with the holiday, and I just got messed up for some reason. New Year's, I kept thinking New Year's was Monday, and it messed up my whole week. So
Yep. Yeah. Me too.
uh, so we're doing this on a Thursday, and I just realized that I had scheduled this for the evening. So very few people are going to show up live, I suspect, but we're going to go live anyway. If you are out there, feel free to. There's Ghost out there. Feel free to say hey. If you have any questions, let us know. But Clover and I have been chatting now for a few weeks, well, a bunch of weeks now, a few months, I guess, about SHOT Show. And well, one thing is Ear Pro. I mentioned that a couple of times last night to people. Um, we didn't really, I don't think we have ever talked about bringing Ear Pro to range day. We didn't talk about badges or badge holders, I should say. And then those are the two things I was thinking off the top of my head. I mean, I kind of addressed them last night anyway, but can put them into this show. Is there anything that you can think of that over the weeks that we've just danced around or missed?
Off the top of my head right now, no. But I mean, I'm sure as we get to talking, there's probably something.
All right. So I think we've talked about bags and carrying bags, but I never mentioned badge holders. So I'm just going to do my badge shaming or whatever. So I really think that
Right.
badge holders are important, not to be overlooked. It's something that you don't think of until it's too late often. And a lot of people, I think, agree with me because of how many badge holders are given away at SHOT Show. So when you go to an event, pretty much any industry event, you're going to get some sort of a badge to identify who you are, some kind of a, um, what am I trying to say, like, hello, I am, or something, or this
Yeah.
is the group I'm affiliated with, or something like that, just so that makes it easier for people to communicate with each other, right?
Right.
So that badge is almost always just a piece of paper these days. Sometimes it's a piece of plastic where it's got enough, what's the word, like, there's enough material to it that it just has a strap hanging off of it. Kind of like you think of like a backstage pass in a movie for a concert or something.
Hmm.
So sometimes they're more elaborate, but often they're just a piece of paper. In fact, that's probably the most practical way to do it because most people have a badge holder, a thing to put the paper badge into, and they almost always by default give you some sort of a cheap thing that costs some pennies and makes sense because not very many people are going to use them and they're kind of extra in case, but they're basically just a piece of plastic to protect it and hold it around your neck. So what that means is when you walk around to people and you've got this badge holder or badge on and you're using the default badge holder, it just means like you weren't really paying attention. You haven't maybe been to one before, or you got caught off guard, but you weren't prepared, right? You weren't thinking ahead. And not that it makes that big a difference, but it's those little things that create the first impression. And I'm not
True.
Mr. I walk around with a suit on and worry about my first impression. But when you're trying to make deals with people, you're trying to impress people with your abilities or whatever it is you're trying to do there. It's just one of those things. So it's sort of like if you were walking around with um, the inappropriate footwear or like the wrong pair of pants or something. There's no rules, but at the same time, you're not going to be taken seriously if you're wearing just something too goofy, uh, right within parameters or whatever, social norms and that kind of thing. So the badge holder, I think, is just something that we haven't talked about and it's often overlooked. So to summarize, I'll say that the big difference to me is when you walk around with like a let's say a $20 badge holder that's made in the USA versus the default one or some cheap one. I think that depending on who you walk up to, they're going to either not pay attention at all, which is probably most people, but those people that are paying attention, it's just going to be one more thing that they use, one of the factors they use to determine your validity, your abilities and that kind of thing. And that's where I think is something as simple as, paying attention to your badge holder gives you that, I don't know, at least it takes away a potential variable to me. I don't know. I might be crazy. The other side of it is a decent one is going to last you a number of years, and they'll have some useful things like uh, pen holders and places to store your uh, business cards and things like that.
Right. Yeah, I would agree. The The thing with the not only the ones that they provide, like the venue or the whatever provides, those are cheesy, super cheesy. Like pick them up at any office store or whatever office section of a store, even. And then the even the ones that I mean, some of the companies have badge holders and they provide things like that. You can pick one up in their booth. Um, if you have that opportunity, I would say, and you don't have your own badge holder, first of all, get your own badge holder, and for reasons G has explained, and then I'll add a couple. But um, first of all, get that. If you can't get that, and you get to the venue, whatever one cheesy one they give you, I mean, pay attention and see if maybe a company has some badge holders, branded badge holders out there. They're definitely better quality, better looking than the ones that you're going to get like default from the venue. But they're cheesy. They often don't have extra things on them, which I'll get to with the having your own badge holder in a second. But a couple of the drawbacks. One of the good things about having your own badge holder for me that I found out pretty quickly, I noticed a pretty major difference was the lanyard, the actual part that goes around your neck. So a quality badge holder, and mine comes from Tactical Tailor, and then it's got some modifications that my wife has made to it as well.
Oh,
But
really? What did she do?
well, I'll get into that in a second. But
Okay.
the what I was saying is one of the things is the comfort level of wearing that day in and day out for multiple days. The Tactical Tailor is a wide strap. It's like an inch wide. The that goes around your neck, right? So that is any weight that's in that badge holder, um, whatever. It's something that's around your neck and it's wide, right? So it's distributing that weight and the pressure and everything else, right, to like a wider area. And to me, it's just over days, it's much more comfortable. You forget you even have it on. Whereas,
And it's not like there's weight. It's just that it does exist, and you don't even realize until the end of the day when you peel that rope or cord off of your neck, and you're like, oh,
yeah,
that's what's been annoying me all day.
yep, yeah, exactly. Now, if you're wearing a collared shirt, or something like that, which quite often I've got to where I wear, the sweaters, the hoodies, the vests. I wear some things like that, and they'll have collars, and it's not nearly as big of an issue, admittedly, as far as the lanyard part with that. But especially if you're not wearing any kind of a collared thing. Can be problematic. Now, yeah, the custom thing. So the custom thing is you can tailor that to your own liking. So with the Tactical Tailor when I got, I mean, it comes default with some Velcro on there, which is awesome. Um, the way it's designed, it has these flares that go out that allow it to, because something that goes around your neck, right? Imagine that lanyard, it doesn't stay flat. It has a little bit of a twist to it. It has to in order to go around your neck flat and properly. And so the way the Tactical Tailor is designed, it's got these wings, I guess, for lack of a better explanation, that kind of come out of the top. It kind of flares out, right? So with that, that gives me an opportunity for my lapel mics. It's like a perfect spot to mount that, and I can like mount that, and then my microphone. Um, although I turn it on and off depending on what I'm doing, but it's there. It's like on me. I don't have to rustle that out of a bag. I don't have to mess with any of that. I carry my other microphone usually in my pocket or something like that, or I will
Well,
this time because I've got
can
the
you
smaller ones. Go
can you
ahead.
put the other one on the other side, like yours on one side and the other person's on the other side, or
I
you're
could and
scared it
then,
would
then
lose
just
it?
move it. Yeah, I could and then just move it. But I've got the new microphones now, and they're much smaller. So, the receiver and then the extra microphone in my pocket is not going to be a huge deal with those at all. That's one of the things I love about them. Um, But what I'm saying is one less thing I got to fumble with and mess with. It's in place. I reach down, I turn it on. It's good to go. Um, it's got
Oh, so
plenty of
those little
room.
microphones that you use have power switches, so that when you're not using them, they're not wasting battery at all.
Yeah, they're
Oh,
yeah.
I
You
didn't
can
know
turn
that.
them on, turn them off, and then yeah.
And then they plug straight to your phone.
The receiver plugs straight into the USB-C port of my phone. Yes,
And then what do those cost? Just sidetrack.
they are about $80 for the pair
Okay.
for the
Okay.
two microphone setup. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks. Sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
Yeah, they're super cheap for what they are because they're amazing. Anyway, so with the Tactical Tailor, yeah, you got the Velcro. That's great for your branding and for other things to put your patch on. You've already got a nice badge holder there, that's going to draw attention. Now you've got, a patch, something like that on there. It's going to draw even more attention, right? But then you've got your usability and versatility, like you talked about, G. So the tactical tailor has a little pocket in the back that is a business card pocket. It's not in there with the badge holder or with your badge, right? It's separate. It's in the back. It's real easy to just reach in there, grab a business card, take their business card, put it in there, whatever, right? So it's real easy to distribute like that. Now it only holds, I don't know, maybe 25 or 30 is about all you can cram in there. But you can recharge that, right? If you've got, cards in your backpack, cards, maybe you've checked a bag or something and you've got that kind of stuff. You can always keep those rotating. And I recommend doing that anyway. That way you don't, taking a picture of your business cards, which we've probably talked about all that, but also, rotating those out. So like every time that you get a chance, stop, take the stuff out of your badge holder, your cards, right? Replenish your cards in your badge holder, and then file those, you picked up, file those away somewhere safe, pocket in your bag, whatever. Have a specific spot for those. Um, that way they don't accumulate and get lost. As far as the additions my wife made, my wife added an additional pocket that basically it's separated from the badge holder and from the um, card holder, that I can put a steno notebook in. The little bitty, is that what they call it? A steno notebook, but the little spiral notebook that's spiral at the top, but it's really kind of thin. And
Well, let's call it a Write in the Rain notebook, and everybody knows what you mean. Or like the ones you get for free from Glock. So if you don't know, you just go over to the Glock
yeah,
booth and go, "Hey,
basic
can I have a
kind, yeah, yeah,
notebook?" And then you do that every time you walk past the Glock booth, and then you got a half a
yeah.
dozen Write in the Rain Glock books that are
Yeah.
awesome.
But it's really small. I mean, having some paper you can write on hand and something like that. I mean, it's handy. So I've got that, and then occasionally there's a note you need to take or jot down a booth number, or do something like that. I could write that on the business card, but then what happens when I lose track of the business card and stuff like that? So for me, it's easier. And then the tactical tailor has a pin holder on it as well on the backside. And my wife added another pin holder on the opposite side so that I can carry not only a pin but a Sharpie. And the tactical tailor um, loop is not really big enough for a normal Sharpie. You can get that pin style Sharpie in there, but
Yeah.
like a regular Sharpie, it's really not
And
big
the
enough to
little
find
thin
one.
Sharpies are effectively useless except for certain
Yeah.
things. Like if you're just trying to
Yeah.
Sharpie something, then it's too
Yeah,
tiny.
I
Yeah.
call it a normal Sharpie. You've got the
Yeah.
smaller style Sharpie that's kind of like a pen. You got the big fat one that's like a Marks a Lot, and then you got what I call the normal Sharpie. And so I carry a normal black Sharpie and a pen, both in my badge holder. And one of the reasons I carry a normal Sharpie is, you can write on a more variety of things than you can on a pen. And with business cards and stuff, it's a lot easier. It's a lot bolder. You don't have to worry about getting the right amount of pressure, right? Because it's a marker. That sort of thing. So I got to try to find something you can press down on, right, to try to write on something. You can do it right there in your hands pretty easily. So uh, yeah, accessibility for extra paper on the badge holder, pens, markers, business cards, and then holding your badge or a plus.
And that's the big thing I'm looking for when you talk about the pockets on the back. So adding the second one on the back is pretty sweet. So there's a bit of organization you're going to need to keep to think about. You're going to be having business cards to give out potentially, and you're going to be collecting business cards, and you're going to be collecting business cards from people who you're going to take them as a courtesy, like, hey, thank you for your business card. But you know what I mean? And then there's going to be ones that it's like, yes, we're going to have this meeting, or we're going to have that interview, or we're going to have this meetup, and it's going to be next 2 weeks from now, and I'm going to write that on the business card. So, you even at the worst case scenario, you got a default badge holder. You can stow your business cards in your pocket or in someplace, and then in your bag or something, and then put the business cards you get behind your badge in the badge holder. But in like what Clover is talking about, where you just had one pocket, you've still got behind your badge. So that's sort of a pocket. It's
Mhm.
impromptu, but it's a pocket.
Getting to it is a little more difficult, right?
Yeah, and there can be a flap. Yeah, it
Yeah.
can be annoying. So it's not ideal. And then those back pockets, they're easier access. But then I've had some, and I'm going to do a badge video. My badge videos will take an hour because I keep all the badge holders. I think it's a big thing. So I've kept all the badge holders over the year, and there's horrible examples and a couple of good examples. But the smaller the pocket, the easier it is for all that stuff to fall out. The larger the pocket, harder it is to get in there. So, you're going to have to find what your mileage may vary, what works well for you. Something else, a little something about badge holders. You're out at the media day. It's raining. By the way, it looks like thunderstorms for media day, FYI. At least according to the weather I've seen. Rain for sure, but thunderstorms on most of the weather things. So you're going to have this badge out, and the badge holder is going to keep your piece of paper from getting all destroyed. But it's also now probably not the best place to keep yours or other people's business cards. But you can also have a situation, we're going to the desert, Nevada, and you're walking around all day on Monday. You put all your business cards in your badge holder, and at the end of the day, you find out that you've been sweating all over the place, and now they're gross. So badge holders, you're going to have to get a little accustomed to how you're going to use it or what. But I don't know. We can go on and on. I guess there's probably a line in the sand here. The other thing, unless you've got something else to add about badge holders,
No,
I guess I'm going to add Tactical Tailor. You brought up Tactical Tailor. Ghost out in the chat comments said that he likes his. Tactical Tailor is one of many U.S. manufacturers, so they use Berry compliant materials, which means the Berry Compliance Act meant that items used by the U.S. military need to be created with materials sourced from the USA. So Berry compliant means that not only the item is made in the USA, but all the components of that item were made in the USA and it was assembled in the USA. So it's a government thing, but it's a cool, like, it's like saying organic or natural, it's like an actual, it's a way to tell right off if a product.
Well, and they're super high quality.
Well, that's the
Super
thing,
high
because
quality.
it's made for basically
Yeah.
out of U.S. components. They don't bother to make it cheap. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
super well made, and and it's just a good company. But there's lots of companies out there. I use a different one. There's most of the U.S. made companies are going to offer something like a badge holder because it is so simple, and they have different ideas. The one you're talking about with, I don't have one with me, but essentially, if you just take any piece of flat stuff and you tie two cords to it, it has no interest in staying one way or the other. It's going to flip back and forth all the time, and now your badge might be flipped around the other way. So what Clover's talking about is instead of the straps coming out the top, they essentially come out the sides, and because of that, it's orientates it on your chest correctly, so it's always pointing out. It also smooths it down, like you're saying. So if you're wearing a coat or you've got some other kind of backpack on, it's not getting caught up, because a badge holder will eventually kill you. It'll get caught up in your backpack or something, or you'll get snagged on an escalator or something, or climbing down a ladder, jumping out of a helicopter, and the badge holder will snag on something and kill you. But anyway, so that's a good point, that people come up with different styles and designs, and that's why they evolve, I guess. And some of it, I've seen some just such gimmicky ones that it's like they took every idea they ever saw and put it into one, and it just makes it it's kind of like a Swiss Army knife, almost useless, but practical sometimes.
So my wife can certainly attest to the quality with Tactical Tailors, because she had to kind of pick it apart in areas, you know what I mean, to add the little things and whatever. And to be able to get access to sew the things on and that sort of thing, and it drove her nuts. She's like, "Oh my god, I've never seen anything like the stitching and everything used is like insane on it. Like it's hard to pick apart, even if you're trying to get that picked apart. Let alone, you know what I mean, it falling apart just from use. It's not going to do it."
And I agree. And I'm looking at some of the comments. I starred a bunch. The first one I'm put on the screen here is from Ghost. It says, "Sounds crazy, but I keep a stack of cards in my stack of cards, business cards, in alphabetical order. So in case I need to get one, it's easier to find." That's actually not crazy at all. That's super smart. I almost always have to dig through that pile of cards at some point to find something. And it's not even in order of the way I grabbed them, because I'm just jamming them in my pouch. So I'm always having to pull them out. I don't know if I would do that, but if I was like stopped on an escalator or something, I might think about doing that. Or if I'm like, I don't know, it's not too many times where I'm just standing there. But if for some reason I have to just stand there for some reason, or I get stuck someplace, or I'm politely waiting for two other people to have a conversation and I got nothing to do, that'll happen. Um, I might do that because that is a good idea. I don't know if anybody's done that, but yeah, that makes sense.
Yep.
Let's see. Woods is saying that they're doing online school today, so that's why he's probably able to chat with us. He says he needs a badge holder for school, so that's interesting. So most of mine are multicam because why not? Well, because I like multicam, but that's camouflage and that makes them look sort of like military or something. So, or at least some people would assume that. So, you can get them in tan or whatever. I think that's one notch away, but it might as well still be some kind of military look. But what do you think, black or they must make them in other colors for like nurses and
Oh,
stuff. I'm
they
sure they
do.
have
They
them in
make them
crazy
in
colors.
black. I mean, black goes with pretty much everything, right? It's pretty basic, and I think most everybody you'll find they make them in a black.
Let's see, but I also think what's cool, and people don't think about this, but well, since we're talking badge holders and we're talking shot and we're talking potentially to people that are showing up for the first time, you're going to be walking up to the building, which is the convention center, and there's 60,000 people going to be there. About 30,000 of them are already there because they're working there, so they got there earlier. So about 20 to 30,000 people, depending on the day, are walking in this big crowd. Back in the day, it was a lot different because there was just the one entrance, the one door to the convention center, and everyone had to walk through that one door. And most people want to get there right at the beginning, so it was a bit of a congestion. But now there's the monorail entrance with the new convention center, so it's definitely, at least last year there was. I mean, you got and smoked. Was there any congestion at all ever?
No,
Yeah, I
now,
didn't see any. I didn't even see like more than three people waiting in line for almost anything it shot. It was really interesting how that
yeah,
second door, way a mile away or whatever, still makes it such a different flow. Anyhow, when you're walking up to the thing, especially I've never done this, but people that stay at the real casinos on the strip and they're not like parking in a parking lot and walking over, but they're walking through the casinos and walking down Vegas. Look at how many people, just watch videos. You can see how many people are walking around. They leave their hotel room with their badge on and they walk around. They might as well say, I'm going to SHOT Show. They got a big, I'm going to SHOT Show sign. So it's up to you if you want to make everybody in Vegas know you're going to SHOT Show, wear your badge. But I don't. I mind my business. And as I'm walking through getting yelled at by the first guard, I pull my badge out. And then now I'm in SHOT Show. So, depending on your style and how you want to do it, you can either tell the world you're going to SHOT Show or you can, be at SHOT Show the moment you take that badge out. On the other side of it, you got all those business cards and everything in it. Um, Everybody's going to have their own. Well, we're talking to new people and people that have been there. So everybody has their own plan. Everybody has their own ideas of what they're going to do. But in reality, hey, everybody's going to eat, or like, hey, we got to go over. We found a thing. There's a shoot tonight. Everybody's jumping in this car. And we're going, like you never know what's really going to happen. So having the ability to take all the stuff that you just did that day, even with the notepad like Clover's talking about, and let me put the can I put my camera on? Yeah. You got all that stuff in your badge holder. You tie the lanyard around it. You put that in your bag, and your SHOT Show stuff is fairly secure, right? Until you get to where you can your hotel room or something where you can actually start digging into it. And that part of it is pretty cool. As opposed to if you didn't have a badge holder, you'd be putting business cards in a pocket or in some part of your bag. And now, part of your bag is important business stuff, and part of it isn't. So I think that um, aspect is something that a badge holder is nice about, or that offers. Go says he empties them daily and keeps them in a rubber band in the backpack. Oh, okay, interesting. So do you carry your day one business cards with you, day two, three, and four?
I do not.
Yeah, I never have. I never even thought about it. I guess I'm like, I'm not carrying weight no matter what, even if it's a handful of business cards.
Right.
Um, I sometimes will keep like what Ghost is saying, put them in a rubber band. I mean, I don't have a rubber band. I'll put them in something, and then that way, that's my day ones and my day twos. When I get home, I get those sheets like what you'd use for baseball cards or something to put them in a 3-ring binder.
Yeah.
So I'll get these sheets, and then I don't really. I just have them in order of who's cool. I don't put them in order of like number one or two or three, but
Right.
like who I like, who I know, who I'm happy to have their business card if I ever need to contact them. And then you pick up some business cards as you're walking around, and those goes toward the end, or somebody pushes their business card on you and you didn't ask for it, don't keep them, but those are going towards the end of the book. But yeah, I've got
Yeah.
expanding books of business cards from 2005. What you got a strategy for your business cards or some sort of I guess strategy would be the word.
So I've got to where I take a picture. I've got to where I
Oh,
do
for me,
that. I
that's a
do
great
that.
point. Yeah.
And Woods out there is talking about that. I said that earlier, but yeah, I've got to where I will take a picture
Now,
because
do you take the
every
picture
year,
immediately when you get it?
yeah, like right there, like almost immediately, because I got my
And
phone
and
out
I'll
doing
recommend
B-roll.
hold it up to the booth. Like this is the doggy booth. You hold up the business card and take the picture. And now,
Yeah,
no question, that business card is with that puppy.
yeah, it's true. Um, but yeah, I usually do it pretty quick. I mean, you've already got your phone out doing B-roll or taking pics anyway, so it's pretty easy. And
And you can
then
do video too. Don't be scared to be like, this is
yeah,
the business card from the guy who said he's going to send me a XYZ, or this is the one who she said she is going to send me the
it's
other thing.
true. This is true. So then I will, like I said, then I will. Those will go in the badge holder, and then the next time I've got a break, I'm able to. And the badge holder again, it gets cycled through, new cards put in. Those business cards I've collected, there's a certain um, compartment on my bag that I will put those business cards in. And then when I get back to the house, the hotel, the whatever, um, those get moved from there and kind of go into a spot on the suitcase. So, um, I mean, there is a method to it. Then once I get home, yeah, I'm like you. They go in the binder, the business card holder binders, and then, but before I do that, they get entered into. This came from Ghost, but they get entered into a spreadsheet. The basic information, right? Company contact, email address, goes
Oh, really?
into a spreadsheet. Yeah.
And then what do you do with that spreadsheet? Is that like my SHOT Show spreadsheet, or is that some sort of like I keep a spreadsheet every week or every month anyway?
It is just a industry contacts basically spreadsheet. And so
Oh,
and
okay. So like
and
your
as
Rolodex is a spreadsheet.
kinda, yeah. And then as um as people switch companies or drop out of the industry or whatever, obviously if I find that out, I delete them from the spreadsheet. But that gives me the opportunity to not have to sort through cards, right? I can just bring that spreadsheet up and click find and type what it is, the company or whatever, and or if it's a name. Like I remember the guy's first name that worked for this company, but you know, um, you just click it and go.
So I've used whatever email, and that's lame. So I like your thing better. I wish I would have been doing that since 2005. They've been pretty neat. That spreadsheet to have.
Yeah,
If I had
yeah,
an intern, I'd make them right now go do that. Like take all my business cards and put them in a spreadsheet, but
yeah.
he won't do it.
Um, yeah, Snob out there is talking about he takes pictures too because he misplaced. Yeah, I did that. I started taking a picture actually just last year in 22. And it's because every year prior to that, no matter what show it is, I get home and I'm missing cards. It's like I know I talked to that company, can't quite remember the guy's name. Now, thankfully, you can sometimes pull up your video if you did a booth thing or whatever, and you can pull up the video and zoom in on their badge. You know what I mean? And then kind of reverse engineer it through LinkedIn or something and figure out the contact info. But um, yeah, it sucks when you lose a point of contact, a card for your point of contact for sure.
Take us away for a second. I've got a text I gotta reply to. Sorry, real life stuff.
Yeah, I don't know where to go. Let me scroll up in some comments here, but I think we got most of them flagged. Uh,
Um, oh no, I got a couple here. Keep business cards in the pocket behind the bolt, and then oh no, I guess we already talked about that.
mhm. Yeah, Snob
So
had one about out of the badge holders. He
this
uses
one.
one of the one from Savior or whatever. Now Savior makes really good stuff, really good bags and stuff. So I haven't paid enough attention to their badge holder, but I would not doubt it's a pretty decent badge holder for a company's badge holder. Would not surprise me a bit. And so yeah, if something like that works for you, why not? I got my badge holder. We literally went to Tulsa one year. We made Tulsa, and then my next show was shot. So, and I think in talking with UG and a couple other people, badge holders come up, and I immediately ordered my tactical tailor. So, um, yeah, I pretty much had one since day one. So, I never paid that much attention to the badge holders from the companies and stuff. I will occasionally just pick one up randomly because I can throw it in the giveaway box or whatever, but um, I don't pay a whole lot of attention to it. But yeah, business cards. One of the things with business cards is, and it's a little bit late now. You've already done it, but you know, it's where I mentioned the Sharpie earlier. Not every business card is created equal, and that's one of the beauties of having a Sharpie is if you've got like a high gloss business card that you get from somebody or whatever, and you need to make notes, you can do that with a Sharpie, and you don't have to be near as picky or whatever. For whatever reason, it seems like UV coated, that glossy coating, the UV coating cards are cheaper to get than the old school cards just in the raw for whatever reason. But like I said, with a Sharpie, it's easy to make notes and everything on them anyway, provided you got some space that you can write. So keep that in mind. Uh, Switching gears from badges to business cards a little bit, but keep that in mind with your business card design to keep a little bit of white area, a little bit of it doesn't have to necessarily be white, but a little bit of clean area. Um, that you can write a couple of notes or take some notes, not just for your purposes. I've had companies before, and this is where the notebook, also the little steno book, comes into play. But I've had companies before that they run out of business cards for whatever reason at a show, right? That person, oh man, I'm out. They're all gone. Didn't bring it up or whatever, and so I can use one of my business cards a lot of times, and just jot down their info on that, or I can put it in that steno book. The beauty of me jotting, I try to use the steno book for like other things, like I got to remember to go to this booth, or this was the name of the contact I needed to see here, that sort of thing, right? If it's a business contact, then I try to put that, and they don't have a card, I try to put that on a one of my business cards, and then I file that away with the other business cards, right? Um, but there's also I make notes a lot of times on my business card before I hand it to them. So if we've talking to them about coming on the podcast or something like that, I'll write that on the business card. I'll write
Great
podcast,
idea.
or
Because they're not going
or
to
something.
imagine how many
Yeah.
business cards they get.
Right.
Can you even imagine? And what are they doing?
Yeah. If
If
it's
you're an employee of somebody, did you get told what to do with business cards? This is your second shot show. Did you master business cards yet? Unless your
right.
fourth shot show, did you master business cards yet?
Mhm.
So don't expect the other side to be like, we're the master of business cards. You give it to us and it's a done deal. Good luck. They've got to take their booth apart and go home and then take their booth back apart again and look at it. And who knows where that business card is. And they've got to pay everybody. They got to make sure shot was worth it. And then you're over there like, you didn't get my business card. I gave you my business card. I mean, to some extent, I can see why people don't even pay attention to them, but they're also critical. It's a thing that goes home with the person. So we're talking about worst case scenario, they lose it. But if they don't, then it's a thing that they have, and it's got your logo and branding on it. Like Clover said, writing something on the card is probably one of the best tips that we've offered right now, or in the shows, because that's
Yeah.
big deal,
Even if
big
you
deal.
just put, I mean, if it's T&E for something, right? Like you've talked with them. I try to use something that we come
Yeah,
up
I'd
in
be
the
like, we talked about the puppy, or we talked about how that duck
yeah.
looks,
So
something
like
that they're going to remember.
if you go into a booth and you talk about, bunny rabbits and rainbows, and then you write something like, Mount Kilimanjaro on the card and hand it to it. Like there, whatever. I mean, that's not so. Whatever you write on the card, make sure it relates to the conversation that you had in the booth, because that's what you're wanting to do. You want them to put the card with the face, with the name, with the conversation. And humans have pretty decent memory, especially if it's there's little things that can spark it. So try to think of something to write on the card that will spark their memory about that conversation, uh, whatever it might be.
Snob is talking about it, and Woods is talking about having an app that will suck all the card stuff and zap it into a
Yeah, those have
spreadsheet.
been around for a while. I've never used one, but those have been around for a while.
I get my problem is I've used them on like Mac SEs. Like I've used that stuff so many since the beginning of time. So I assume it's all crap. But I was using it back in the days when it technically was still crap. But or compared to what it probably is now with a smartphone and stuff. But I
Right.
mean, they can take a picture of. I don't remember last time I went to the bank to give a check to the bank, right? Like just take a picture of it. It's got to be that good, right? Or
Right.
better. So I like that idea. I haven't done it. That's something to add to the mix before shot. I don't know. See, here's the thing: like the people that are driving to shot as passengers, massive untapped potential there. They could be doing all kinds of that kind of stuff on the depending on how many hours of ride you got to shot show. The driver got an excuse; they got to keep the car on the street.
Right.
Everybody else is just effectively, getting paid to just sit there. So that would be the kind of thing if I was getting driven up there by an intern or whatever, making this puppy drive, then I'd be checking out an app like that. So I kind of like it. Um, I guess the worst case scenario would be like China is taking a picture of everything or something, right? Like you just get one that's not a Chinese app, and I
Yeah.
don't think I'd be too concerned about it. It's just a bunch of contact info.
Yeah. Yeah, the pictures I take, they usually get tossed once I get home. I verified. I make or I say they usually. I've only done it 1 year, but done that through 22. So once I get them in the spreadsheet, and get everything done, I'll go through the pictures and match it up. I'm like, okay, that's in the spreadsheet. So that's here. I've got that. I got that. I got that. Not once I know I'm not missing anything. Well, I nix the pictures, get them off my phone. They go into a backup drive. I don't get rid of them permanently, but yeah,
Yeah,
they
move
go
them
into
off the phone, but
yeah,
keep them, keep
yeah,
them
they go
close.
into yeah, they just go into a backup drive under pictures. But I've got them there if I ever need them for whatever reason. But at that point, that information's in three different places. So
Well, let's talk backup drives really quick. Every shot, I get one of these little dealies. That's one drive. Underneath here is another drive. Um, I get 2 terabyte. That's enough for me. I don't do that much video. How big of file sizes do you get? Do you get a separate? Because these are like $50. Do you get a separate hard drive for each shot, or
no,
what's your strategy?
no, I don't.
Oh,
Um,
interesting.
I'll use I'll use one that's a portable, and then I've got man, it's not like I don't have plenty of stuff backed up. I mean, I've got at this point 20-25 terabyte easily worth of stuff that's backed up, and then another 4, I would say, or so available, space, 4 terabyte or so
But
available
you've got
space
it on like
here.
big giant drives in a mass storage device.
Yeah, I've got some NAS, storage stuff, components and stuff. Yeah. And so that basically I just got to add drives to them to expand the space or whatever. But anyway, yeah, I mean, I just need something. I've got, a couple of externals and some flash drives and some different things that I'll use to when I'm out, when I'm at a show and whatever to back up or do whatever I need to do. Then once I get here, all that gets sucked off and put
Kind
uh,
of like
onto
Ghostbusters. You got
those.
the little deal to hold the ghost, and
Yeah,
then
it
you come
goes
and
into the
jam it into
containment
the
unit.
big
Yeah,
thing. Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
And I get that. I do that, but I don't keep a large. I don't have a NAS, so I have the stuff that I'm using, and then everything else for me gets stuck on hard drives in a drawer because now they're disconnected from anything. It's really difficult unless a fire happens. They're not dying. I
Yeah,
guess degrade over time of some I don't know magnetism, but you know what I mean. They're not running. But that's something to think about. If you're bringing a laptop, I guess you probably can plug these drives right into phones. I don't even think about it because my phone's kind of old. But having a $50
well,
backup drive is worth
so
it, I think, for a shot.
I have played with that because that's something that I'm gonna utilize this year. And with my phone, it actually came with an adapter that basically is a regular USB port, right? You plug that adapter in and it gives you a regular USB port.
Just
And
like anything that's USB peripheral can
yeah,
attach to your phone.
right.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
So if I plug a flash drive into that, right? Or I can plug a memory card reader. So if I've got an SD card, like in a
Nice.
reader, a USB
Yeah, and
reader,
it doesn't
right?
matter what because it'll be like a
I
universal
can
reader. You
plug it
can
into that.
plug it into
Now,
any kind of phone. Yeah.
yeah, it does not work with a hard drive. So I can't get it to work with a solid state drive. I can't get it to work with a conventional drive,
No, it's FAT32. No, I guess that's not.
even if said drive, no, it's a power thing, I'm pretty sure. But even if, or a firmware thing, even if said drive, like I said, is powered externally. I've taken an external drive even and plugged it in that runs off external power plugged into the wall. and like it still doesn't pick it up. So it's got to work off of like a portable storage, a straight up portable
Yeah.
storage
Well,
device.
a real hard drive sits around, your computer starts up, the BIOS says, I'm a computer, and then it looks around and goes, I got a hard drive and RAM and a CPU, and then the hard drive spins up, and then it goes, I got Windows on me at some
Right.
point. And then
Yeah.
it starts to attach stuff, and
Yeah.
that's when the hard drive is used to talking. A USB is like Windows is already up and running, and you jam a USB in there, it goes, hey, buddy, we're talking Windows, and it goes, yeah, I'm a hard drive. Well,
Yeah.
your real hard drive doesn't say in Windows, hey, I'm a hard drive. It talks to your BIOS, right? So yeah, it's a little different situation.
Yeah, well, in a solid state, a solid state should work, but it won't work for whatever reason. I couldn't get any of
Well,
my
a
solid
solid,
state stuff to work.
any kind of drive in a portable drive might give you that interface,
Yeah.
but who cares? We're getting into the weeds. Having some sort of portable storage is probably a good idea. I think it's worth it for sure to have a $50 thing that's smaller than a paperback book. If you want to go, more like 100 something, you get the solid state one and it's no moving parts. Um,
Yep.
Woods is saying, do you trust the cloud?
Nope.
I lost everything from 2019.
Yep.
I
Nope.
lost everything from 2019 because of hard drive failure and just not paying attention. And I was writing
Well then,
2 books. So I lost 2 books worth of shit that I had to rebuild, and that took
right.
forever. So for me, at that point I do still have my hard drives. And the thing is, the hard drive corrupted. So it's not like I deleted it. The hard drive corrupted and I couldn't recover it, and I had too much stuff on just the one drive. So normally each year I take the drive and swap it and buy a new drive. Kind of the SHOT
Yeah.
Show drive is different, but my regular computer stuff.
Mhm.
Now I put everything on the cloud also. So yeah, I do the cloud and
I do, but I certainly don't. I don't. He said, "Do I trust it?" I was like, "I certainly don't trust it." And I use it
well,
sparingly too, because here's the thing: like at this particular point in my life, and that may change eventually. Like I refuse to pay a monthly fee to get X number of gigabyte, terabyte, whatever. So when you're limited to 5 or whatever the heck I am for like the free version, right?
well, just FYI, mine is something like 8 and it's like $30 a year. And I figure it's worth it to have that extra redundancy. Every night you can kind of schedule it to just
8
take everything.
terabyte.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. We may need to talk off air or something.
And anyway, there was just, again, I just looked around and was like, nope, I want to have, because I'm talking my video copies. What do I care if my video copies? You're already looking at my video copy, my videos. You're looking at the unedited, maybe, whatever. I don't even know why I keep them. I'm stupid. I don't know why I have a bunch of dumb stuff. I just figure, maybe when we have AI, I can use it, right? That's what I'm assuming, I guess. When we have little AI R2D2s, and we go through all my videos and make a cool video of like what happened in 2016 real quick, and it'll go, here it is.
Right.
You know what I mean? It'll
Yeah.
happen. We're not that far from that. So I keep it around, but anyway, like I don't care. I mean, what are you gonna do? Like look at my videos from, I don't know. The worst you could see is maybe like us unlocking a phone or something, or having a private discussion in a hotel room. We didn't have cameras running for that kind of shit though. So anyway, yeah, I'm not too worried about it. I don't really keep anything important. Like I can't imagine, what are you gonna get, like a copy? So I don't really care about cloud, but the price is what I didn't like until I figured out that it's like $35 for a bunch. It's just
Yeah.
sitting there, and I probably could put it on my own servers. I just don't, because I don't want to worry about the security and all that. Like I'm paying the $35 so that they deal with the security and all that. And then plus there's Dropbox. I mean, everybody has to have a Dropbox, right? You don't have a Dropbox, that's just a necessary thing in business when you're moving files back and forth between people, sort of like a PayPal or a Venmo or one of those. You need to have certain things in order to deal with other people individually.
Oh yeah.
So I don't consider my Dropbox storage, but there's probably terabytes of SHOT Show stuff on Shot. I don't keep videos on Dropbox. It's mostly it's older stuff, so it's pictures. But anyway, yeah, there's lots
Mine's
of
mostly documents in Dropbox.
and then
My
and then
media packets and stuff like that.
technically everything we do is in the cloud. Everything we have on YouTube is in the cloud, and everything we have on our websites is on the cloud, and everything on every other platform is in the cloud. So yeah, we all trust the cloud a lot. We all get
Yeah,
paid
that's true.
highly
This
by
is
the
true.
cloud.
That's true.
Sorry about this dog. He decided to lay. Oh no, I keep thinking that he's laying underneath the microphone. He's laying underneath the camera, snoring like that. Okay, so we got redundancy down. There was something else I kind of tangented on to redundancy. We were talking about the badges. There was something else we were chatting about, or I brought up at the very beginning, though. Or maybe that was bringing an extra hard drive. I guess this isn't as big a deal anymore, or maybe it is because I don't think about it because I already have it. But two versions of internet connection. Our team brings at least four internet connections usually, four ways to tether and get online. Like I am not waiting to get online anywhere, so I don't need to. I mean, it's only whatever. It's my phone and an extra $20 to have a tethering little device that I drag around in the van, and
Right.
then the people I bring have at least two or three carriers, just because they like to have two or three carriers all the time and kind of constantly fiddle with. You know how people like are phone hobbyists.
Right.
So when you have phone hobbyists around, you get a bunch of different options. So, like I say, we don't really worry about it because we've always got like four options. I don't think about how often I have to drop off of one and jump to another. But are you the same way, or have you dealt with? Is there something we should bring up about having multiple types of internet connection?
I mean, maybe. I mean, I don't. I mean,
You
you know,
just bring one carrier.
I'm dependent upon my carrier, and then whatever Wi-Fi might be available or whatever wherever we're at. One of the reasons
Oh,
is
you
that,
use Wi-Fi there. I don't always use the
well,
Wi-Fi.
I don't always use it there, but it's 2023. You know what I mean? Like any restaurant you go to, any whatever. I mean, it's pretty easy to find Wi-Fi.
Well,
So
that's what I mean. I don't use any of that stuff. I'm scared shitless of Wi-Fi. I'm not scared of the cloud, but I understand what people can do to Wi-Fi, and I don't use Wi-Fi anyway. That's
yeah,
why I bring my own internets everywhere.
yeah,
That's more security, I think, and paranoia from I don't know what, because it's not like I'm really too worried, but I'd rather keep my footprint off of every restaurant I ever go to, just because
yeah, right.
I don't know. But that's the thing. Here's the deal. I don't go to Chili's, but if you go to Chili's everywhere you go, when you go to Chili's everywhere you go, at some point the restaurant is going to go, oh, this is that guy, and he likes his drinks this way or his things salted that way. You know what I mean? Like, so
Yeah.
it's going to be convenient at some level. I don't know if they do that yet. I don't have any idea, but at some point it'll get that point.
Well, we
So
know that they track, through the phone and
yeah.
stuff like that, locations and where you're at. I mean, I've had that
But
I
if
don't know
they
how
want
many
to make
times.
the tracking, if they don't want people to be scared of the tracking and they want them to ask for tracking, that's what they'll do is say your preferences come with you. Every
Mhm.
time you sit down, it goes to the chair, moves to the adjusts to the height you want, and it's the comfort you want, it's the
Mhm.
puffiness and the heatedness that you want. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that'll
Right.
happen. And they'll be like, that's why you want to have this thing with you at all times and have every single preference in
Your
it.
your normal order is this. Would you like to place this order? Something.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mill Surface saying I'm going to have two external hard drives, one for my channel, one for the other channel. That's a good thing too. If we have multiple presences, is that the show? Then that
Yeah.
might be a thing.
Yeah. That could be easier
Now, I
for
don't carry
parsing
none of
through
that
it
stuff.
later.
That stuff is in Vegas. I'm not carrying all that stuff. We have
Oh
in the
yeah.
past, but when you've got like 4 or 5 people, we've had 7 people walk around the show, then it's a lot different because nobody's carrying all the catalogs or something. You don't have to leave all your bags completely open. Everybody can grab something, and with 7 people, everybody can carry whatever they want, kind of thing. Plus, we were new, I guess, and technology was different. Now we got batteries that we take for granted that last forever. I mean, I don't even think about my battery, honestly. Back in the day, we were charging our batteries like every 20 minutes, like constantly. We had to have multiple phones just because batteries couldn't handle it. So, there's certain things that change with tech. So I was saying I pay for iCloud storage and it's well worth the money. Plus, I can pull it off quickly on a MacBook or whatever to edit it. And that's the other part. That convenience is crazy. And I don't use the full functionality. One of my reasons for doing the gear project every day over on the other channel this year is because I do need to take advantage or learn some of the things like that. The Adobe software that I use has some really interesting things that lets you kind of throw it to the Adobe cloud and then grab it back down. And I'm just hobbled by not taking advantage of some of that stuff where I don't use it too often, but it would open up ability that I maybe am not utilizing. Well, I know I'm not utilizing, but maybe I would appreciate. I don't know. If I'm missing anything important here, we're almost getting up to an hour. I don't know how long we want to go. We're kind of doing this in the middle of the day. I keep forgetting. This one's a weird, not Tuesday day. We were really picking up loose ends today, though. Um, we talked a little bit about the SHOT Show app last night. You weren't there, so feelings on the SHOT Show app, its development over the years. How do you use it, or do you use it?
I do use it. Sometimes I use it to help with navigation. Certainly use it. I mean, I've told most people I'll go through the catalog, I'll mark, and then I'll flag those in the app. So it's really easy to check those things off when you went by a certain booth. So I do use it as far as the innovation over the years, and it's clunky. I mean, it's like that. It's not built by the best, most tech savvy company out there, I don't think, and it's certainly not maintained or evolved. It's kind of clunky, it's kind of hokey, but it works seemingly.
Yeah, it sounded like you could do some stuff that I didn't know. So I might. Well, my problem is my phone. So I'm getting phones this year, which are I don't remember what year my phone was anymore, but I know when I was trying to use the drone with it, I looked and my dang, I can't remember what the name of the operating system is. It's something like Cupcake or something, or Meatloaf. I don't know. The name of the operating system on mine is like 8, I think, and the drone's minimum was 10. And some of the hand-me-down phones I'll get will have 10 on it. So it's 2 generations newer than my phone. So I'm guessing if I blank, and those won't be my phones, right? I'll be emptying them. They'll be starting as empty phones. My phone is a billion years old with all these apps and all the crusty scabs from all the different apps that have been on it. I mean, when you think about what software does to a phone and accumulates, and I haven't cleared my phone in forever. Anyway, so I'll have these new phones and I'll be able to try the app on those. What's cool too is having multiple phones is you can video, put the one phone on a tripod or something and then video what you're doing on the other phone type of thing. How many phones do you bring?
3 or 4 typically.
And then you're filming on phones?
Oh yeah.
And then do you bring any regular cameras?
Nope.
Do you own any regular cameras anymore?
Yes.
But you just don't bring them to shot at all?
I own a GoPro. I own 2 camcorder style, handy cam style, and then one that is I guess a point and shoot, I guess is what you would call it. And then I've got some that are built into.
Like an autofocus or the
I've
kind
got
where the lens pops out like a boner?
yeah, I think the lens does come out a little bit.
Okay.
And then I've
Because that's
got
not quite like a pocket camera, then it's a little bit more intricate. Like you could break it.
right. hmm
No, that's cool. I used to have one. I've used all of those. The GoPro though, you're not even bringing that.
Nah.
Oh, you know what I was gonna do? I was gonna do a chat, and I don't know where I put it now, but I was gonna put things in there that are like would be nice, necessary, and then luxury. And here's what I really, really, really want to get this year. In addition to getting a drone again, because I feel like I lost an arm or something without my drone. I really, 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 really liked having the drone, especially because I'm driving up there. So I want to stop a bunch of times and get, depending on the lighting and where I'm at with the hills and the cactuses and the yucca plants and stuff. I want some drone footage of the van and just Arizona highways and stuff. It's driving me nuts. But I want to get the thing that you ever watch Locked and Loaded. They do roller coasters now. They're like a bunch of video games and roller coasters. They moved to Orlando, so he holds this deal that's a 360 camera essentially, but it's better. It's like a 360 camera with the guts of a drone in it. So it's a gimbal and it's a horizon stabilizer, whatever you want to call it. So you just hold this thing and it records as if you were on a gimbal with like a whatever, and it's 360. So I don't know if you played with 360, but you can just hold it and record, and then you just point it at whatever you want and pull that out. So it's really recording everything. And I really, really, really want to get one of those. You stick it on like a stick and you walk around with it. That would be
Yeah.
so cool. I mean, I don't know, but I think that would be the coolest camera to have to fiddle with. I've got a GoPro, and I don't play with it enough, but I really wanted to learn how to work it better. And it's an old one because the main thing is you can stick the GoPro on whatever and then monitor it on the phone. And again, I'll have these new phones to fiddle with. So I'm going to bring the GoPro. My problem is I need to get new batteries for it because the battery goes dead in like 5 minutes, unless there's some hack or something to regenerate his GoPro batteries. But
hmm
anyway, I'm just blabbing here, but you're not even bringing the GoPro.
Nope.
You have any use
Mainly
for it?
because of the battery and the charging and stuff,
Oh,
life
so
and
you have
just
the same
everything else.
problem with battery life on it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's
And
not
is that
worth it.
something I can alleviate by getting a new battery, or am I wasting my time? All the batteries suck on them.
Um, I don't know. I mean, it's not nearly as efficient as my phones, as far as battery goes. So
Okay. So it's better to have like a cheap phone and just put it in the places where a GoPro, because I think of a
yeah.
GoPro as being rugged
Well,
and
here's
not
the
that
thing.
plastic case for it.
Here's the thing. What it depends on what kind of footage you're looking to get and what you're looking to do as well, right? I mean, we got to throw that out there just so people know. And so, the cameras that you use or whatever, the recording devices, cameras, microphones, whatever is going to be dependent upon the style and the type of footage that you want to get. You know what I mean? Like if you're not interested in doing 3D footage, 360 degree footage, then why would you buy or bring or whatever a 300, that type of thing. So, yeah, I don't like GoPros are great for like action or, that type of thing, sporting things or target cams and just things like that. Things where you might need some type of a wide angle or something. The fisheye stuff on GoPros drive me absolutely insane.
Oh, see, I
So
like that, especially because
I
it's
don't.
so high quality. You can just pick out pieces, and it's more like a style thing. And it's not like you'd film the whole video in it, but it's great for like whatever, like B-roll, like
Yeah, yeah.
angles.
Well, like I said, it's personal. It's a personal preference. It
Yeah.
is.
So
Yeah.
Snob is saying the eights or newer have way better battery life. So I guess all the old ones have bad battery life. Then that's like what I can do with my GoPro though. I bought $1 cable at Walmart. It was on clearance one time, and brought it home, and I can plug it into my TV and plug my GoPro into it, and then my GoPro pipes into my TV. I don't know what to do with it, but I can do that now. It costs
All
a
right.
buck, and I think it powers off of it, right? And then Snob is saying the GoPros you can turn off the fisheye. That makes sense. They just use like a digital correction or something to get rid of the fisheye.
I can on mine, but mine's older, so
You cannot on
I
yours.
cannot on mine. Yeah,
Yeah.
but mine's
So
older, so it could be what it is.
just a question out of nowhere: that is this that revolver that's got a? Are they calling it a semi-auto revolver?
Yeah, the bullpup revolver.
Is that what they're calling it? So
Yeah,
the Zenik.
yeah, the bullpup.
Let me guess, it's from Turkey with the
It
name like Zenik.
is definitely European. I don't think it's Turkey. I think it's something.
Is Croatia a different place? They put K's in
I think
everything.
it's I think it's something like commie block. You know what I mean? Type
Well, I
Russia,
guess
whatever.
Czechoslovakia puts K's in a bunch of stuff. But yeah,
Yeah,
it's one of those countries that puts K's in everything.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I have to look at it. It's either stupid or it's awesome. One of the two. It's probably awesome, but we'll find out.
Right.
I don't know. What is everybody hating on it now? I don't even pay attention.
Oh,
I mean, I
not
seen
me.
it. Yeah.
Not me.
Um, yeah. I mean, I'm not excited to see anything like that. It's interesting. I'm glad to see that there's stuff like that. I like to see that Shot Show has innovation instead of duplication, or like there's probably a better word than that, like replication. Most of the time it's just derivatives of like what was popular last year. That's pretty boring. The weird stuff, it almost never goes anywhere, but it's cool to see that people are still out there doing stuff. Like what about that thing, the ounce? Is anybody paying attention? No, but
Hmm.
is that going to be back? Will that have a bigger booth? Did it sell anything? People are like, I expect it to be, you know, whatever, the cheap as the Ruger right out the boat. And what about that thing with it was from Texas and they had a lower grip angle or a lower bore axis? Hudson.
Oh, the Hudson. Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think that was cheap when it came out the gate, but people
Hmm.
like the looks of it, so they gave it a pass or whatever. Like things are, I don't know. We are weird about it, and I can't have an opinion one way or the other because I don't have skin in the game as much. I just find it
Right.
interesting that we get all upset when something is different, and then every once in a while, like the Keltec thing, everybody loves that Keltec dual barrel stuff. Remember when that
Right.
stuff came out? I was at Shot Show when all that stuff came out. Like
Yeah.
that was essentially the laughing stock of everybody who, because when that came out, everybody liked wood guns still. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
trends change, people change. We got this millions of new gun owners. They're looking at Shot Show for potentially the first time. They potentially have their own uh, content creators go in there to point at what they want. That 357 semi-auto bullpup you're calling it might be the coolest new thing. They generations need stuff to stand on. You know what I mean? They want their thing, and it doesn't
Yeah.
have to be good or bad. Look at 9 millimeter. Everybody's like, "Oh, 9 millimeter!" Like, what the fuck? It's from the olden days, and it's just happened to be available, and everybody jumps on it like it's the best thing ever. I'd like to see, what do you think super carbine, or what is it called? 30 carbine's going to do? 30 super? What the hell is it called? 30
Super
super
carry.
carry. Yeah.
It's got to be picked up by some more.
I mean, do you
Uh,
think it's going to be bigger or gone this year?
um, I'm
Predictions.
gonna
I'm shot for
say
predictions. That would have been a good show.
I would say bigger, but barely
Well, I
bigger
think
in
I'm
a
going to do
sense.
shot show.
Bigger in a sense, more of probably ammunition production, you know, than anything. But
Do we live in a world where the manufacturers have enough room to decide, let's run some super carry, or do we live in a world where they're like, we can't get enough for whatever calibers, so they're never going to consider running super carry as an experiment?
well, the problem is that's developed. And so when you have a cartridge, if you've got a cartridge that's developed and then given to the world, it's one thing. If you have a cartridge that's patented and trademarked and all of that stuff, then that becomes problematic because then you start talking about in order for ammu- ammunition companies to do things and whatever, you're talking about licensing agreements and stuff that potentially have to be struck. So it's people often overlook, or maybe they don't even overlook it. Maybe they just dismiss it altogether, but probably overlook. They're not thinking about it. The business aspect of things quite often. Like when we're talking about the firearm industry, those are businesses and they make decisions, and there's lots of moving parts and pieces going on that are not the beautiful firearms, range day, shoot 'em, oh, they're fun. It's the, backroom deals and everything else. I mean, I know some companies right now that are having some issues along those lines with trademarks and licensing and things like that. And it sucks, but that's something they got to deal with. It's something they spend big money paying lawyers to try to handle and get right. And yeah,
Yeah, I don't even get it. I was watching something with a new gun owner, and I was like, or a new gun manufacturer, and I was like, there's no payoff here. Like, there's no payoff anywhere. Like, you just have to be doing it for the passion, because the it's got to be stressful. You know what I mean? It's not like it's a easy ride to be a new manufacturer or pushing a new pistol out into a market. Um, you just really got to be doing it because you're that, like, you're super interested in the process and whatever. It's not like, I don't see gamblers doing it like, oh, maybe it'll win and maybe it'll pay off, because there's no payoff. Like, what's the best you can do is keep making the gun, but you're never going to be like, I don't think it's possible to be like, there is no such thing as the new whatever, because there's no whatever. There never was, right? The 1911 was never the most popular gun. The 357 revolver is never the most popular gun. No Smith and Wesson was ever the most popular anything. Glock was what it is, but it's never the most popular gun. I mean, it might be the most purchased because of something has to be the most purchased, and it was 1911s probably for a little while. It might have been revolvers for a little while, but that don't mean nothing because they've been around for so long that just means a bunch of them have accumulated and that people have bought a bunch of them or something. They're like, you know what I mean? There's not like, I don't know, like the Ford, uh, the F-150 or something. Some people, or maybe the two pickups, the Chevy and the Ford, you could kind of say, we're like iconic, and something has to go to that gold standard, or like, maybe a Mustang or a Corvette or something like has to go to that standard. But I don't think, because back in the day, like, there was like a pinnacle, but is there that anymore? There's so many versions that the best you could hope for the new manufacturer is to just be, and not come and go, or to, what I mean? I don't think you're even gonna make a fortune, right? There's no way to make a gun so cheap with the markup that you become rich from it. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't. You know what I mean? Like, the only way to really stay in business is to take any amount of profits you get and strategically put them into whatever comes next. So that, you know what I mean. So that I don't know. Or am I crazy? Is there some way to come into the market, make a gun, and make a bunch of money? Like the Desert Eagle, that never made a bunch of money. None of the Derringers, as cool as they are, as weird, as innovative as they are, have made money.
nope, I was muted. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like Smeggy says out there. A lot of people don't appreciate that. Everything that's done is you could say standing on the shoulder of giants, but you're standing on the shoulder of somebody. May not be giants, right? But every idea comes from something. I mean, you're inspired by something, right? You're like, it's not like you come up with some crazy, even if you come up with something crazy that's never been thought of before, right? Think of like physicists that are out there that come up with a new equation that is like, oh crap, this is how you calculate dark matter. Nobody ever would have thought in their
Well,
wildest dreams, but they were
um,
still inspired
crypto
by certain things, right? They,
crypto is a new
yeah,
math that's happened just in our lifetimes.
yeah, yeah. So, even if it's a flop, even if it's an utter failure, it's like people can learn from it. They're like, I watched the thing the other day. They were talking about the government. We all know the government spends way too much on stuff, and they don't do it nearly as efficiently as the private sector can do it. SpaceX, for example, right? But they're like, but you need the government, or you don't need it, but people that are willing to raise the venture capital and do those things, they often want the government to do it first. That way, the government's the guinea pig, and they know, okay, what can we do better? We can do all these things better, blah 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 blah, to make a profit, right? Um, and so, yeah, every idea is ultimately is born out of some other idea, and so a lot of people like, what's the point of this? What's the point of that? And it's like, we don't know right now. Right now, there doesn't seem to be a point. 20 years from now, when somebody brings back something does something that's amazing, and you go, hey, what was the inspiration? Well, that pointless thing you were talking about 20 years ago? There you go. You know, so you never know what the future holds. And so um, that's my thing. Like whether we're talking about that bullpup revolver or 30 super carry or whatever we're talking about. It's like we don't know. Let's look at it for what it is. There, it's a company. It's whoever that's trying something different and trying something new. Let's see it for what it is, um, and move on. Let's not get too hung up on it.
And that's part of the fun of SHOT Show. So experiencing the show is everything, but this lead up to it, talking about it, deciding what you're going to attempt to discover or check out. Um, this part, and we're the content creators who happen to be collaborative. There's content creators that could give a shit and they're told what to look at. There's content creators that are just self-sufficient so they can do what they want. There's content creators that they're too cool for school. They're not going to look at anything and they don't even go to SHOT because they're so awesome, right? So there's all levels of content creators, but then there's the gun shops, and there's gun shops that are going there to meet media. There's gun shops that are going there to meet manufacturers. There's gun shops that are going there to learn how to do their business better. We talked about the universities last night. There's the universities are not on top of each other this year. Last year you would have had to say, I want to go to this or that, but they're at the same time. Or I want to go to this and I want to go to this, but they're at the same time. So now it has to be this or that. And I don't know if they put any thought into putting them next to each other so that they had something to do with each other so that they could stagger them if they were on topic or something. But I just thought that was odd. And that's one of the reasons I've been frustrated because I wanted to check these things out or whatever. But it's difficult. You couldn't even check them out. You wouldn't be able to go to all of them because they're not staggered. This year they're sequential. So one, then the next one, then the next one. There's just one at a time, and they're all up training on how to run the store better or be better at your compliance or whatever. There's going to be one on I don't know what it's called, but it had a weird title. But there's one on suicide awareness and prevention. Um, and then there's the exhibitors, the manufacturers, and the distributors, and all the people that exhibit at the thing. So each of them is preparing for the show in a different way. And what they're doing is they're combing through everything, right? They're discriminating the stuff that's not them. Like, oh, this guy's producing Velcro, big deal. That's whatever they sew that into, I might be interested in, but that I'm not going to check out, right? This person's doing boots and shoes. Okay, well, I'm not in that market, so I'm not going over there. These people do safes, and these people do, I don't know, I'm trying to walk through that last aisle there, where, some people are going to be there for whatever their reasons are, and they're going to be going through and thinking about this whole thing. And that's a big part of SHOT Show, is that the industry is sitting here thinking about each other and they're aware of each other. You got to walk past everything else to get to what you're going to. That's something. And that creates part of what this whole thing is, right? Like it may not be obvious, but you walk past, I don't know, Night Force enough times, and then something clicks, and you walk past them and say, what if you did this? And then they go, oh snap! And now there's a new product line. You know what I mean? Like it's just weird. So I think that part of it is un, I don't know, hard to focus on or hard to describe. I don't know. Some things aren't possible until a certain number of flops occur. That's where I went from that. I don't know if you have anything on that one.
Yeah. No, it's true.
Looking at the rapid fire crossbow, did the video of, you did a video of it too, I think. Innovation like that is game changing. Think of the ideas that came from that or that come from that.
Yep.
All right. So, and like as I was saying, then, everybody who's thinking about this stuff is talking to their neighbors, they're talking to their friends potentially, they're talking to other people at the gun show or the gun range or something potentially. So the stuff is getting out there, and that part of it is pretty neat. I don't know. Do we have anything else for today? We're about an hour something in. I don't think we missed any actual questions. There's quite a few people watching, so if there's anything else.
No, I don't have anything.
We've been tying up loose ends today. I can't think of anything that. Oh, I guess I was watching Chris with the new. Did you watch that show at all? All a bunch of new people by themselves talking to each other. It's frustrating because they're talking about stuff that you're like, oh come on, but then they're also like saying, hey, what about this? And I'm like, oh man, I never thought about doing something like that before. Like they're doing different things.
Right.
I'm going to throw this one out there since this is odds and ends, and this is one that I wanted to type in there, but there's just no way. I think you get 200 characters in YouTube comment. There's just not a way to actually say some things.
Right.
And I've been trying to get this going since back in the gun channels days. But you're all going to be in the same city for a week or however many days, and you're all going to be in the same buildings for about of those days. Some of y'all might be sleeping in the same places, right? But you're definitely going to be eating together and that kind of thing. So collaborative and creative, I've always, do you remember the movie or the show, I guess, 24? It was a TV show from back in the olden days.
Yeah.
And the main thing about that was that it would start with this weird, I don't know how to describe it. Like it would be little instances like that reminded you of what happened last week, like the little cliffhanger clips. And it would be like somebody running to a balcony and looking over and seeing the dead body that fell off or whatever,
Yeah.
right? And that would remind you what happened last week. And then it would go bing, and it would use this noise, and then it would shove that still image of the dead guy, and it would shove it over to the left. And then it would go to the lady who was like driving off control off of a cliff, and then she hang glided out, and then it would dink, and it would screen capture on her hang glider, and then that would go to the right. And then it would catch you up with all the different adventures of all the different characters or whatever. And then it would go on to the show. So, and I kept trying to get y'all to do this. Nobody ever does it. Maybe even before you, back in the old days. Even when I was paying people, my own people, to be there, they wouldn't do this. But I thought this would be amazing. So you basically chase somebody into an elevator and then end the video, or run up a stairs and then end the video, or do something that's dramatic or whatever without causing a ruckus, and then end the video. And then everybody exchanges these things. And then everybody's like, what the hell happened at SHOT Show, right? But then the best part is, and this is the spoiler, so don't listen if you don't like listening to spoilers. You actually have a thing that happens. And if you string them all together at the end of the year or something, like if somebody were to actually watch all those clips, then maybe somebody's bringing somebody some batteries, or somebody's bringing somebody a soda or something. You know what I mean? So how hard would it be for somebody to grab something and be passing it off and do some kind of dramatic thing, or somebody wins the thing? And you know what I mean? There's so many things in Vegas. You could drop something off a roof and somebody catches it. You can throw a paper airplane across all of SHOT Show. You know what I mean? There's so many cool things, and nobody does that shit. And there's groups of people out there that all know each other, and they could totally be doing that stuff. And all it takes is getting together off air, coming up with some stuff, being creative, and then adding a layer to SHOT Show that makes your videos watchable and more interesting to people that want to work with you.
Yeah.
because anybody can take a video of a booth. But how many people take a video of a booth and then somebody hauls ass through there and then it turns into the end of the video is a bunch of those jump shots or whatever they're called. And how collaborative, how cool would it be if you brought all that stuff and you jumped it into a pile and everybody exchanged that or something? You know, what if people change shirts or something in the middle of a video? I don't know. I mean, I'm not trying to make shot
Right.
like a laughing stock or to like take it and mess with it and get yourself kicked out. But at the same time, why can't we have, you know, some real depth to it or something? I don't know what the word is.
Right.
But anyway, I'm throwing that out there. It's for the people that are actually listening to this and want to take your stuff to another level. Have some fun with it.
Hmm.
All right, so someone should do this thing called 24 hours at shot. I attempted this year. It's very, very difficult to for me to accomplish that. I really, really tried this year though. I told them like, look, I'm in my 18th year and blah blah blah, and I couldn't do it. But yeah, it would be cool. They won't. I don't know. They've done it kinda, but you think about like if NSSF hired somebody to do exactly what I want to do, they could hire me to do it. And
Right.
then yeah, they basically were like, here's the empty building, and then everything, and then here's the empty building at the end. Right? What's the impact on Vegas? How come we're not emphasizing that? Right? People pour into town. People, you think people in Vegas are like, oh no, all the gun people are here? Are they like, oh good, the gun people are here? There's going to be no crime for a week. Nobody's pickpocketing nobody in Vegas this week.
Or are they oblivious to it because there's conventions in Vegas all the time?
It's possible, but the fifth largest convention in Vegas happening with the concrete one, which has to be a pretty big one after the CES. There's no way that we're like
Well,
unknown. They
so I
definitely,
get
if
you,
you
but
live in Vegas, you're like CES, Shot Show, concrete, porn, because I think porn is right after us, and
what
that's
if
every
they're?
single year.
But I mean, I'm just getting like, what if they're indifferent? Like, oh, there's a lot of people in town this week or something. Like
You're
they
right.
don't.
I mean, the
They,
people that work in the casinos are definitely on the pulse. Everybody else is like, oh, this is the time when Vegas is busy. They don't care
they're
what
not.
it's busy with. Yeah, it
Yeah,
could be
right.
a
Yeah, yeah.
convention
The
or a t-shirt.
specifics of the
Yeah.
convention, I don't know that most people even care about.
But I suspect that people ain't, and when there's a whole bunch of gun owners in town, it's a different town. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Because we're all over. It ain't like we're all in the hotels like the old days. It would have been a bunch of gun shop guys who weren't carrying go into the hotels. Think about that. Whoa. Back in the old days, it would be a bunch of gun shop people and a couple of medias. And those medias had regular old cameras. If anything, they were going to go steal those cameras, but nobody could carry. There might be a couple of cops in the group and maybe some people rogue carrying, but that wasn't as big a thing when you were traveling back in the day. But
Yeah.
so now there's a bunch of people who are just going to their hotel rooms and going back to shot, and they're probably walking or taking a cab. There was not, you know, you're really in Vegas to do the casino stuff, maybe a couple of after parties, but you know, it's not like the internet of today or whatever, where people are going to do selfie vacations and shit. So yeah, nowadays you got people all over town. Everybody carries. Literally, Vegas has reciprocity with pretty much everywhere, so everybody's carrying, and they're in what are those things called that you got Airbnbs, which are basically houses all over Vegas,
Mhm.
and all in the different hotels. So yeah, I think there's maybe there's not. I mean, it's not like there's gunfights going on, but I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. Yeah, I don't know. It's now that you're saying that it's Vegas is a giant town, and the Strip is I don't know. It's like having a mall. You know, it's not really like it's got that big influence on the rest of town. Oh, let's see. Smeggy's talk to. Oh, okay. I don't know. Did you hear about that drama?
Oh yeah, yeah. I
You
talk to
got any
Sean pretty.
opinion on it?
I talk to Sean pretty regular.
You got any
Yeah. I
opinion on
mean, they don't know, so I certainly don't know. And Sean's got the same, pretty much the same NSSF connections I do. So it's like there's nothing I can do to help. I don't know. I don't know what went sideways or what went wonky, but I mean, it happens. So I just wish they would be, if there's always two sides to the story, you got to realize that. Um, but then I got to be real careful. Also taking even trying to remotely take the side of NSSL because they do some questionable things now and then. So
Well, they're a giant organization that
yeah.
are dealing with a few people dealing
Yeah.
with a massive thing, and they got so many directions they're being pulled in. To expect them to
Right.
pay attention to a specific is kind of unrealistic, but at the same time, it's frustrating because people are familiar with some customer service stuff that isn't
Mhm.
that way. That
Right.
is more we're here for you and blah blah blah. Shot Show has 60,000 people, and they probably have a dozen people working at NSSF, and then however many people work for that company that run the thing, and that's an interface. So it's you can only expect so much out of that kind of interface. And yeah, if there's a glitch, it's all about the way you approach it, I suspect. Um,
Yeah, I want to get off of that if we can, because
yeah, there's nothing to
I'm not
really
in
win.
agreement with some of the sentiments that are going on out there. I mean, we can say that
Yeah, you can listen to one side of
it's
anything
not
and
good.
say
We
that
can
this
say
is
it's
not
not
good.
good. We can say that there should be, but when we start comparing NSSF to this and that and speculating this and that, we've gotten off into the drama, and I'd rather stay
Yeah,
away from that.
yeah, exactly. And every single year there's drama.
Oh
So
yeah,
put
yeah.
that out there.
I
I don't
remember,
bother to track that kind of
I
stuff, but
remember, staying
literally
on
every
this,
year.
yeah, staying on this point, but then shifting gears, a little bit. I I got the second year I went to Shot Show. So I got back the second year I went to Shot Show, and I forgot what was going on, but I mean, everybody knows I spend time here and there at the local gun shop, and I'll gunsmith for them and everything because they do help me out. So I help them out in various ways. And I walk in one day, and we're sitting there talking, and I was just talking with a customer, and he said, "Oh, I heard you got banned from Shot Show," and I said, "What?" And he's like, "Yeah." He's like, and he mentioned another customer's name, and he's like, "Was in here last week, and he said that you got banned from Shot Show. I was just curious what went on." And I'm like, "I don't know what you're talking about," you know. And so, I always thought that was interesting that consider the source, but I don't know what that dude heard or who he heard it from, or if he was just making stuff up. You know what I mean? But like that was a weird moment in my life that apparently I got banned from Shot Show and I didn't know it, I guess.
Well, there's definitely been people that have had that have created that situation. I mean, again, it's hard to say without knowing all sides, but because Shot Show isn't just walking around, it's not like every year there's a trail of carnage from the people that got betrayed by Shot Show's indiscriminate bullying tactics or something. Like that doesn't happen. So there's people that uh, have done stuff and got themselves kicked out. And then, of course, their version of it is, I was just standing there minding my business. And Shot Show came down and kicked me out. But in reality, they're bothering people or harassing people and being weird. And again, you just got a giant process. So just like anything, sometimes you're going to find the person who's rational and goes, hey, let's look at the specifics. And other times you're going to get the ban hammer or whatever it's called. But again, suggesting that there's no option other than to play victim is not looking at all the options or possibilities. So
Yeah, hopefully they can get it figured out. And I think there's enough clout with people and other things that at least they can figure out what happened because it'd be nice to know. We'll say that about the whole ordeal.
let's see. So then, um, any
See,
other
Bishop.
loose ends? Patching. I'll probably have do a whole show on patches of
All
Shot Show,
patches and stuff. Yeah.
patch stuff because there's
Yeah.
really a lot of layers to patches. What about other stuff? Media room. I guess we haven't. We probably could have done a chat about media room.
We could have, but then again, we don't really know what that's going to be like
That's a good
necessarily.
point.
We've
The
got a
media room is
general
a
idea.
factor, but it changes quite a bit each year.
Yeah.
So it is a factor, and it can be a resource, but
And
it
it
can
changed
also be
majorly.
less of a
22 was
resource.
majorly different in 22. So we'll
What do you
see.
mean?
Well, it was just different. I mean, they didn't have stuff out on the regulars for his water, for example, right? Like
Oh
I've
yeah,
never seen
that was
that.
the worst.
Like
The comfort level or
yeah.
being useful for us, and then they had those rooms. I kind of like that, in the front there,
Uh-huh.
where into those rooms. I don't know if that was the first year or not.
Where you
This
can
first year
go
I
do
noticed it.
interviews and things if you need a quieter place on the show floor or whatever. Yeah.
And just be private. Like if you wanted to go in there and have like a phone call or something, yeah, like you can not have to go find a
Right.
bathroom or whatever.
Right.
But yeah, exactly. And then have like a private conversation and do business. And that's the thing. That's a resource you do have, assuming they're going to have it again. And I can't imagine when they would. I guess
Yeah, they will. I'm
they
almost
wouldn't
positive
want
they
to,
would.
but
Yeah.
assuming they have it again, then that is a resource. And even if they don't, honestly, the media room is a resource, unless it's different this year in respects that it's crowded. It was definitely not crowded for the last few years, but as long as it's not crowded or they have those rooms, a resource is that you can go to the media room with anybody you want. You can drag them into the media room with you. So, you want to have a conversation with somebody about doing business or something, and they don't have a booth that's conducive to that, or maybe they just want to get away from their booth or whatever. You say, hey, let's go up to the media room and, I would say grab a soda, but go up to the media room and maybe grab a soda and let them relax and sit down and then have that private conversation. That's some of the big booths have their own room. Technically, media has our own room. We just share it, and it's way the hell up in the rafters, but we do have it.
Right.
And like I say, just going in there, figuring out whatever schedule they do this year, which probably depends. It was Toyota or something that did it the past year. So
Mhm.
that's obviously a different scale. I forgot who supported it last year, but if it wasn't like a giant company, they probably just didn't have the resources to put the food out. And if they don't know that everybody hates them when they don't put food out, you know what I mean? Then they don't think
Yeah.
about putting food
Well, I
out.
don't think that's what it was. I tend to believe that it was, and then maybe they didn't seek a sponsor because they knew that they really couldn't do the food for people handling it, and you know what I mean, germs and things of that nature. Right? Was
Oh,
more on
that
high
is
alert. I'm just saying.
not
I'm not saying
good.
right or wrong. I'm not getting going down that path.
No, no,
But
I
I'm just
totally
saying
forgot about that. That is
their
probably the stupid
perception is
factor
like,
of it. Yeah.
I mean, they don't worry about it any other year,
There was
right?
no buffets or anything. Yeah,
But
exactly.
yeah,
It was all
yeah.
that. It was probably a health thing. I didn't even think
But
about that.
considering there
That's
was no
stupid.
buffets and all of that,
But you know
it's
what?
in
If that
line with
was the
what's going on.
case, then put up vending machines or something that are free, or you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like put out just crap that's
Oh,
packaged or
I put
something.
vending machines that pay. What are you talking about? I mean, I'd be almost fine with that if you could get something easily. But
Well, put them for
here's the
pay,
thing.
but then have big piles, big bowls of
So
quarters or something.
so I
Yeah.
get that. Um, I get it last year, but I mean, it wasn't that much of a hindrance for me. And so since we are talking shot, and there are some people out there that may be brand new or newer. Again, this is a thing when building those relationships with companies can pay off, because every company there, like every single company there, has water, snacks, drinks, something like that. Especially if it's any company of any size. And so you make those relationships, and then you don't. Do you need that stuff in the media room? Don't get me wrong, all that's nice, and especially when you're up that way. But if you find yourself where you've got to have something, go ahead one of your buddies in the industry, and they don't mind. They bring all that stuff to be consumed.
This is
So
gonna this is fattest, but if you look for a booth where there's fat people in it, they're gonna have food
yeah,
in it.
just true, probably,
Just
yeah.
saying. Just saying. Um, and it's an opportunity to start a conversation. And the worst they're gonna say is like, "Oh, it's my last water," and then you walk 3 booths down and say the same thing, and they're gonna go, "Yeah, here's the water."
I got offered water. Well, I mean, let me back up. I don't think I've ever been to a show aside from maybe Tulsa, which is not an industry event. That's a gun show. I've never been to an actual industry event or industry show that somebody somewhere did not offer me water. You know what I mean? Like I never. I mean, that
I'm afraid
is,
of roofies, so I only bring my own water. I don't.
well, we're talking about bottled water, but yeah, I hear you.
No, I'm just saying. But let's see. So then we talked a little bit about the new showcase or whatever. That's an entity. Last night, I was going through the book last night, so we ended up kind of addressing a lot of the things that normally I wouldn't address. But that like book that they sent us. There's the new product showcase, and then there was something else that was. Oh, the deal is that now there's a place in SHOT Show where you can buy stuff. Did you see that?
Right?
So there's normally a new product showcase where everybody who wants to, I guess, probably pays extra, can take one item that's new and put it in this new product thing. So you can go into like the size of two booths and experience all the new items at SHOT Show, just one right next to each other without having to go very far. And it's interesting, but they usually don't let you take pictures in there. And then there's the pop-up preview, which is sort of like a bunch of small booths in an area, right? And now in addition to that, it's some sort of like the store, the SHOT Show store, but for everybody else's stuff, like backpacks and cleaning supplies and stuff. So I guess the idea would be like if you really wanted to have a sample, then you could go buy one. They didn't say anything about it being discounted, but it's outside in that where it's going to be the outdoor meet and greet at the south side of the Caesar building. And then outside there, there's a big tent, and inside that tent, you can buy stuff. They say at SHOT Show this year. So, what do you think of the idea of buying product at SHOT Show?
I don't know. I don't know that I'd like. I don't know that I like the idea. Like
No,
it's
I can't understand it at all. What could it possibly be? Like a keychain or a pocket knife? Maybe a pocket knife. Like I guess if you could walk up to the
maybe,
knife
but
booths and buy
even
stuff,
pocket
I'd grab
knives
it.
are going to be restricted depending on states, and you're not going to be able to travel with it. And
Well,
like,
that's the thing. You're not gonna be able to fly home. Well, you could in your luggage, but I'm just saying, as far as like size, like you're not gonna buy safes there. You're not gonna buy even cleaning kits. Who's gonna lug around a
right,
cleaning kit at SHOT Show? It's ridiculous.
right.
Or like anything and anything, any possible thing except, like I say, maybe a keychain or a pocket knife.
Well, maybe swag related stuff, a cap or a shirt or a something. But I mean, a
And
lot
that
of
must be what
companies
it is.
give
But
that
they
stuff
made it
away.
sound well. That's the thing, and maybe that's the scam. Like maybe it's so expensive to buy hats now, they don't want to give them away, so they'll just sell them to you at cost. But they didn't say like buy super discounted swag cheap.
Hmm. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm going to be curious to see what it is. So I'm definitely be going out there to take pictures from the outside and stuff and see that outside place. There's a couple of those events that we figured out they say open to people with badges, but it still costs you $75. So I don't know if I'll be there for the $75 part. I'll be the dude who walks in, walks up the street from the outside and like takes my pictures from the outside of the fence. So I don't have to pay $75 to take my 4 pictures, and then I'll fucking just walk away. But sorry, I don't have $75 to. Well, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I will go in there, but it's just an outside event, so I could get, or I'll get in the Ferris wheel. Actually, that would be cool. Get in the Ferris wheel and take all kinds of pictures from SHOT Show pointing down. I wonder how much that Ferris wheel costs. I think it takes like an hour or something to go up there, though. It's not the saying people fly and its weight. Yeah. Maybe like Pink is saying, they put it outside so that you buy your stuff on the way out, and it's just something like, oh, I'm leaving, so now I can go buy that cleaning kit and head out. But then the other thing is, no matter what size of the thing it is, how much can they possibly have inventory in that tent for the 20,000 people that are attending SHOT Show? You know, they're going to have like 4 of each item.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't, like I said, I don't get it either.
All right. Well, that was smoking area. I don't smoke in, so I don't think about that. But what's up with the smoking areas,
Smoking areas are
and where are they? And have you didn't smoke out in front of Caesars then either?
wonderful. So I have always smoked down at the main entrance until this last year. And you've always talked about the beer garden, and of course you had to cross that to get to Caesars, right? And so um, I split up this last year between downstairs and in between there and Caesars. I think because you had the traffic moving in between there and Caesars, and I don't know, I've got no point of reference because I have not smoked in that area previously. But I've got to think because of the traffic back and forth, that may be an optimal spot. Um, Maybe even more so than downstairs or out front. The deal
Well,
with out front,
out front used to be the only entrance. So
yeah,
boom, you got a
yeah.
bottleneck. and now there's two entrances, so
Yeah.
everyone has to go across the bridge if they want to see
So
both buildings. So that's
this
the
is
bottleneck.
true. Yeah, this is true. So the one thing I would say about I will probably, depending on where I'm at and what I'm doing at the time, I want to go out and have a smoke. I'm probably not going to pay a lot of attention to whether I go here or there. And there's a reason. And the reason is, regardless, the smoking areas have always been amazing for me. Just with the conversations that get started, and they usually lead to get over to our booth and more talk. Um, and downstairs, the main entrance, right? It's virtually right outside the big doors from the basement, from the bottom floor, right? So those vendors, those exhibitors, those people, right, tend to go to that
Oh,
smoking
no,
area,
that's a good
obviously.
point. Nobody downstairs is going to go upstairs to the
Right,
beer garden. No, that
right.
makes a good point.
They
And
they
if you want
might
to talk
if
to
they're
people walk,
close to the stairs or whatever.
no, they're not. Okay, yeah, because it'd be about the same to walk backwards as it would be
Yeah,
forwards. You're right.
yeah,
And that means anybody north of the stairs technically would also be the equal distant. But reality, they can go outside and be in the sun, or they can go underneath the building in the exhaust, right? So
uh,
they're going to pick the one. But there's a big difference when you say that. There's exhibitors who want to go grab a smoke, and then there's people walking around who want to go grab a smoke.
yeah.
And that's two different groups of people and two different
Oh,
conversations you're
dude,
having.
I have met gun shops and small ammunition manufacturers and stuff from fairly close to my area, which is pretty cool. So yeah, it's not just the industry side, the companies, and being able to start a relationship that way, but just getting to talk with people that I didn't know existed, that were an hour away, that had a gun shop, or had a small ammunition company or whatever it was, right? It's just that's just cool. Like, hey, you see their badge or they see your badge and they go, oh, Texas, yeah, I'm so and so, and you're like, oh man, you're like an hour down the road. Like, how did I know you guys didn't exist? This is awesome, you know. So drive halfway across the country to meet and live an hour apart, but then you meet halfway across the country. That's crazy.
So would you say it's potentially worth grabbing one of them vape pens with just the strawberry flavor or some kind of coffee flavor if you don't like
Yeah,
nicotine,
I'm
and
I'm
just
not
go out there
going
and
to.
puff on it and try chatting people?
Yeah, I mean, you could potentially go out there and not even smoke.
This
You
dog hates
could.
me.
I
You can
mean, I
say that and
hate
they want
to.
to vape.
I hate to tell anybody to get a vape because I don't know that I trust vapes with a lot of the things I've heard and other things, um but I would say it would be worth exploring for somebody. But I don't know. I mean, I don't want this to sound bad, but if you're not actually smoking, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know how the conversation starts or how it works. Like, if you're out there and you're smoking a cigar, or especially me with a pipe, like that does draw a certain amount of attention. And so there's a few more aspects other than I'm just out there smoking, you know.
Like, hey,
Um,
you just ashed your pipe ash embers all over my bag and it's on fire now. You like,
right.
oh,
Well,
let's start a conversation. Hey, I've
that's
started
another
your
good
bag on fire.
point.
Where are you from?
Right. That's another good point in a way, but I mean, there's always, let me borrow a light, a light. Can I borrow a light? You got a light or whatever. And then, another aspect of it too is setting your bag down. Like, if you have patches and things on your bag, that's sitting there with you. And that can be, it's kind of a captive space. The person's there smoking anyway, and they're just kind of looking around or whatever. And, where, as unless they're behind you walking the same direction in shot show, odds are they're probably not seeing the patches on your bag, right? Um, they're not really paying that much attention. There's so much to see. There's so much going on. So if you need to get that instance of the smoking area, sometimes you get, that's a conversation starter. Is just the patches on your bag, or maybe your shirt or your cap, or it's just different things, and it's because there's not as many people in those areas. So they can pick up and key in on some of those little things sometimes, and it ends up starting a conversation. It's, um, I will usually, um, yeah, I mean, it was crazy. I'll tell this story, talking about the smoking area. So we were told, Ghost and I, we were in a booth and we were like, hey, you need to go see these guys, in this booth. We're like, okay. And he's like, "Hang on," and the guy actually took a picture of us and texted it to them, and he's like, told them we were going to get by there, to talk with us, this, that, and the other. So this is another thing where making relationships in one booth with one company can sometimes lead and open doors to other things because there are companies that collaborate together, they know each other, as far as the industry and that sort of thing. And so it's like, okay, cool. So Ghost and I was like, okay, well, before we do that, walk over there. We needed to go to Caesars, I think it was for that. And we're like, okay, before we do that, let's go out and have a smoke, right? And so we're out, we're having a smoke, and there stands a guy that has a badge from this company. And we just strike a conversation, and this guy's freaking hilarious. He has us rolling, and we were like, yeah, we got to come over there and see you guys. We were, told to, come over there and uh, talk to, uh, talk to you guys and blah blah blah. And anyway, and so come to find out, I got to thinking about it when we were on the way over there, and I thought, so Ghost, I said, dude, hang on a minute. So we literally stopped in the aisle, and I broke out my phone and I did a quick Google foo search. I'm like, holy crap. And he's like, what? I'm like, the guy we talked to in the smoking area is the owner of the company that we're going to talk to right now. He's like, "Are you kidding me?" And I'm like, "No, that was him." And he never once said he was the owner. He was like, "Oh yeah, they're working me to death over there in that booth," and he was just hilarious, man, ragging on the show and everything else. It was awesome, and like you never would have known. And then so. We showed up in the booth, and so that was a good story. But you never know, who you're sitting next to, who you're gonna be next to. Like that's one of the cool things, and the smoking area just offers a little bit, a little bit more intimate environment. I mean, again, there's not as much going on in the smoking area, people moving around and things to look at and all that. So it's a little more conducive. If you're standing there smoking, what are you going to do while you're standing there smoking? Some people have their head in their phones, sure, and even I do that to an extent. I'll go out and I will smoke while I, upload shorts or Instagrams or, do something like that, at least for a little bit.
You
Um,
text with Ghost. Hey, I'm
yeah, yeah,
smoking.
or text back
Ghost.
and forth or
I'm
do whatever
smoking
you
too.
gotta do. Yeah, yeah, no, 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 definitely. But, the whole time out there, you're not gonna do that. So, I mean, what are you gonna do? I mean, you usually talk, and I mean, I usually will strike up a conversation. I'll, look at a badge, learn to look and glance quick and read quick, but I'll glance at a badge or something, and I'll pick up on the city and state, or I'll pick up on the company or something, and a lot of times I'll initiate a conversation, and sometimes you get I say, talk about bumps on a pickle, but sometimes, like, you'll initiate something and there'll just be a real quick, dry answer. And it's like, okay, well, this guy's got no, no personality, or he's tired, or he's pissed off, or something's went wrong in the booth or whatever, right? Like he's not having a good day. You got to realize too, when you're out there that, or when you're at shot period, not even when you're out there, that you've got these people in these booths for hours and hours and hours every single day, and for them it's work. you know um a lot of the guys, gals in the industry that I know, they they enjoy shot show, they enjoy the week and everything else, they'll tell you that. But then on the flip or whatever, they'll tell you it's a ton of work. And so they're dealing with all those people. There's plenty of I don't know if opportunity is the word, but there's plenty of chances anyway that they have a bad interaction with somebody or whatever, and they're going out to smoke because of that. They're like, "Oh, I'm tired of dealing. I finally got that jag wagon to leave the booth. I'm going out to have a smoke, right?" And they're just in a bad frame of mind. They're not in a happy place. That's why they're going out to smoke, and so sometimes that happens. But more often than not, pleasant conversation. You meet great people, and it may not even lead to nothing. But I've been out there before that there was people attending shot that had ideas, and I can't even think of. There's two that I know I can visualize the people in my head, but I don't even remember what product they had. But they had prototypes. They were literally carrying around in their pocket of some kind of a product, right? Um, and they were walking around shot show and trying to pitch that to certain companies and people and things, that sort of thing. Um, which was really cool. One was some type of an optics mount for some type of an old Milsurp rifle or something of that nature, I want to say. And I can't remember offhand what the other one was, but just little things they'd come up with. And so it was interesting talking to them. They had an idea of doing this, and they had a prototype, and they managed to have however, for whatever reason, get into shot so they could walk around and try to sell that idea to somebody or whatever, right? Which is pretty neat. It's another aspect of shot. We talk about the exhibitors and we talk about the dealers and big companies, but there are inventors, right? And people there that have design ideas and other things. That is an aspect of it.
Well, and if there's a company with 5 people, one of them could care less. 2 of them are paid to be there. One of them built the place and is dealing with all their this and that, and the other thing, and then the other one is the one who's eager and is always chomping at the bit. Which one's going to SHOT Show, right? So
Yeah.
you got a whole bunch of people that want to be there, that are eager to be there, and then a couple that have no interest or whatever. But it's definitely the fewer of them, and that I think is Wood's thing here. So
Yeah.
Snob has one, but Wood said would imagine that starting
Yeah.
conversation is harder for people that aren't extroverts. But no, you're at SHOT Show, so it's basically a bunch of salespeople and a bunch of people
Shouldn't
that
be
are
any, right?
content creators and media people. So if you're quiet and you stand there, somebody's going to come up and talk to you. Like that it's not difficult at all to have conversations thrust upon you or to just be in the middle of
Right.
one all of a sudden at SHOT Show. There's just so many people and they're that kind of people, and it's an industry show. It's
Yeah.
not a gun show where everybody's quietly minding their business. It's a show where people are like, if you got to stand waiting for something for more than 2 minutes, you're usually looking to your right or left and going, hey, what are you? Who are you with? What's up? Because it's amazingly interesting and it's all business. So it's like, oh, I'm a gun shop and so and so. I run a club out of a range and so and so. And then, I manufacture this. And then it's like, oh, okay, great. And then you move on. I mean, you just met that person, but, whatever. Sometimes it goes into something more than that. Sometimes it doesn't. But it's essentially, I guess you could try hard to not say nothing to nobody. I don't consider myself an extrovert, but I'm able to go, to keep up, or I can shut up. I can sit here quietly if I didn't want to, if I don't have to. But so I'm saying, like, I'll be sitting there minding my business, and people will come up and chat with me. So I can definitely tell you from experience that as someone who isn't out there chatting with everybody, trying to start conversations, it'll happen, especially in like the elevators and stuff where it's awkward, and there's tons of those circumstances in a SHOT Show environment. Yeah, no worries. Snob brought up patches, and so what I think I'm going to do is ditch that to another one, just so that it doesn't get stuck into the end of a 2-hour chat where we're really talking about loose ends. Uh, so I starred that one. I'll hit it when Clover gets back. Um, but I really don't think that's a great question, Woods. And if someone is a bit of an introvert or they're just not interested in being the person who does selfies and shit, I hear you. I don't do selfies. I've done selfies. I think I did like 3. And as soon as I did them, I was like, this isn't my thing. This is stupid. And I didn't do them anymore. So that's why, I understand people that don't want to do that crap. It's not an obligation. It's not necessary. So people that want to go to SHOT and just do stuff, there's tons of opportunities. Everybody who has a cameraman, do you ever see the camera person? Right? Everybody who's got writers and editors, we don't see it too often anymore, probably because they can go other places or they just do it in different ways. They probably can be off-site, but the crews, the people that really make money at SHOT Show doing content creation, are crews. They're teams of people who have managers and they have agendas and they've got schedules and they've got talent and then they've got tech. So part of the tech is the camera people, and then part of the tech is the editors, and then part of the tech is the facilitators. There's people running around making sure all these people are working like a well-oiled machine, and that's roles. They have to hire human people for that. So there's lots of ways to attend SHOT Show and get paid to be there and do interesting things. These content creators that I don't have much respect for, because the same way that they change SHOT Show by going, I like to do it this way, by going, he's going to yawn, by going from film cameras to digital cameras to video cameras to high def video cameras to phone cameras to live streaming and now podcasts and blogs and everything else encompassing all that, we've manipulated that. Not like somebody sat down and said, here's what we need: blogs and podcasts and live streams. But we've adapted to the technology, and the industry has adapted with us. So people who have the ability to create things with intent have decided to go with the flow instead of standing up for awareness, suicide prevention, and getting the organizations that are truly doing the work, the grassroots actual organizations, made aware and funded. The people that have millions and millions of subscribers and millions of dollars and have sold millions and millions of shirts and hats to accomplish that have decided to do that instead of take a leadership role. That's my rant. And the puppy agrees with me. He didn't even yawn. Oh, no, he doesn't agree with me.
All right.
He eats it when I talk about 2A. He's anti 2A, I think.
No
Anyway,
way.
I ranted. I had to throw a rant in there. Basically, Snob has a point about our question. It was my first shot show where I brought my own patches. I'm going to say I'm going to ditch that into a different show. So we're 2 hours in. I don't want to spend 10 minutes at the end talking about awesome patch stuff. I don't know who Doug Turnbull is. Who's Doug Turnbull?
Doug Turnbull.
Is that a gun person?
Doug Turnbull, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Who is that?
Is that? Yeah, I don't
Is
know.
that somebody they met at Shot?
Yeah,
I
he
think I've
does.
heard the name before, but I don't know her.
Doug Turnbull does like specialty, um, like Western stuff or something, right? Like restores and reproduction or whatever type.
Oh, he makes guns.
Yeah,
Or he's a gun maker. Oh, okay.
yeah, yeah. I think.
Well, I mean, if somebody walks up to you and you're a personality and says, "Can I take a selfie with you?"
Hmm.
That's kind of a d-bag maneuver, right? If you do that kind of thing and you're like, "Not with you," that's lame.
Yeah,
But that's what part of the thing. If you're going to get into that, then you should be open to that, right? Like,
yeah.
then you are a douche for not
I've
doing it.
I've gotten to where I'm really sparing who I do the selfie thing with. Like I don't let me back up. Like I don't really deny anybody. Like I get it. That's a thing nowadays and I understand it. And there are and I once took part in that thing. So that's why I understand it. Um so when somebody comes up, if they want to do it, like hey, can we get a picture? I'm like, oh, yeah, okay, sure, that's fine. Um, but as far as me doing it myself with other wanting it with other people, like, um, yeah, that's few and far between. Like last shot show, there was two. There was literally two selfies I took, and one was with Sadini, Walk the Talk America, and the other was Megan with Blue Line Bears. And that was the only two selfies I took and posted on my page. And I pretty much did that to make a point on purpose. Like there's some people for me that's worthy of taking a picture with, and then like, but just taking a picture because, especially because somebody makes YouTube videos, if they're a friend or something, then that's okay, that's one thing. Like I wouldn't have a problem taking a goofy picture with Snob, but we go to Tulsa and there and other shows and everything else, right? So that's a much different situation than just taking a selfie with some random YouTuber or figure that I don't really see or follow or know or whatever. Like, why are you asking that? Well, why are you asking that person to do that? Doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Credibility. Imagine people like go, "Hey, I'm at a thing and I met this person. Now I got it on my channel or whatever." You've done that. It's a
I've done it in the I've done it in the
it's a phase.
past,
It's a
but
phase of content
I
creators,
think
I
it
think.
is. I think it
It
is.
is.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think it is. I agree. That's
Because
what
at
I'm getting
first
at.
you're a
Yeah.
spectator, first you're you're an observer, and then you're a participant, and it's somewhere between spectator participant. It's
Yeah,
probably
it's
like, let's say you're the first person on a new team or something. You're like, "Wow, I can't believe I'm here. Let me get a picture." And then after about 5 minutes, you're like,
right.
"Oh, I don't need to be taking
Yeah,
pictures. There's nobody here."
it's like, hey, I'm in the room, look who else is in the room with me, type thing, right? So, um and then you get to the point that you're like, okay, I mean, unless I really know that person and we're friends or whatever, like, what's the point of taking a picture again with some big, huge content creator that, I'm a fan to them. I'm not a colleague, right? That's the way they're viewing it. And that's sort of what's broken me from that. I'm like, why would I take a picture with somebody? Like if it's a friend and there's a mutual respect there and that's one
Okay,
thing.
so that's one of the things I think when you, and this is just my opinion, maybe it's old fashioned or something, but if you're a person who uses yourself as a personality or whatever, and
Hmm.
then you go around and somebody says, "Hey, can I take a picture with you?" Then you've you've engaged in that. Like then you have, I'd
Right.
say some at least. I don't say you have an obligation, but there's some tradition of people following through with that, right? Like that's not
Hmm.
unexpected for someone to say, it's like an
Yeah.
autograph or something. I
Yeah.
can see it. See, that's the thing
Well,
though. An
again, there's a
autograph is
difference between somebody
specific.
coming
Yeah.
to you and you chasing somebody else down. That's two different
Oh no,
things.
yeah, I'm only talking about, yeah, I'm talking
Yeah.
about somebody who says, "Oh, I'm a fan of yours. Can we?" Yeah, when you go up to somebody else, well, then you're the one who's the fan, and then they have the obligation. So yeah,
Right.
and that's just the nature of being in our
Yeah, that
world,
tends to
as a human guy
reverse.
or whatever.
Yeah, at least for me, that's reversed over time. It's like I've got no interest in like if they you want to, that's cool. Like some people, like Snob was talking about, there's some people, like if I run into Bill Goldberg at SHOT Show this year, I'll probably want to take a selfie with Bill Goldberg if he'll let me. I'm also going to get an autograph because I got a card specifically for him to autograph if I run into him. That's a fan type thing, right? Um, if you're looking at somebody like, that I admire what they do, like Sadini, right? Like Megan. I admire the organizations that they run and stuff. You know what I mean? I've taken them with Chris Chang before. Like that's a friend slash admiration thing there, right? Not so much a fan thing, but a friend
Did he
admiration
make you wear a upside down tattered flag shirt when he took the picture?
thing. No.
Um, but anyway, so that's interesting, and I don't know if we have to keep going with that. No, it's a bunch of stuff because I've been showing the dog here. I've been trying to get him yawning, and I keep missing, but he's been like yawning like 100 times.
Right.
Um, oh, Turnbull, that's what I was missing, and I wanted to just go back because I don't want to be disrespectful. But Doug Turnbull is the Snob says it best, I think. He does Turnbull restorations, does the
Yeah.
amazing restoration in antique guns and the color case hardening, and I think that's where I kind of remembered. Is he in
Yeah.
Tulsa or something? Is that why he's brought him up, or he just likes his work or
I
something?
don't, I don't think he is. But yeah, I've still got like what was it? Brian Enos. I was able to meet him, had him on the podcast as a matter of fact, and that was a little bit of a fanboy moment, with Brian Enos.
I mean, I know who Army, right,
Mhm.
is, well, was,
Yeah.
and I knew who Richard Marcinko was, and
Oh
like
yeah.
Carlos Hathcock, and then um, uh, Masada Yu, right? So that's my only selfie is Masada Yu. I took Masada Yu,
Right.
selfie. I go, "Hey, can I take
Oh
a
God.
picture?" And he goes, "Yeah, sure." And that was in 2009. And I felt like as soon as I said, "Hey, can I take a picture?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm a douchebag." And then I held my arm up and took this picture. And I'm like, "Oh, I'm a douchebag." And that was the last. I never did it again. And
Yeah.
then luckily it was not held against me. And then
I
I was
had.
able to go, "Hey, can I go to one of your classes sometime?" And he was like, "Yeah, no problem. Hook it up." And that was that easy. So anyway, so
He's so laid
go
back.
ahead.
I mean,
Huh?
he's so. I said he's so laid back. Um.
Moss, yeah, he doesn't care at all. It just I
Yeah.
felt like,
Yeah.
oh man, I feel like a little kid or something. I feel weird doing this, and it
So
just didn't feel right. Yeah.
I've always felt a little intimidated around Moss. And when I went to GRPC this year, um, I drive up, I'm getting my stuff out, or whatever, and he's out smoking. And it was a little intimidating. I'd never been in, and it was literally a one-on-one. It was like just me and him in that smoking area, right? Um, and he was in some meetings, is what he told me. And so they were having their speakers in the floor, so everybody was in there. Nobody was obviously out smoking, but they had a break in their meeting, so he was smoking. And we had some really good conversations just about random things. But just I was like, I couldn't believe I was having that, just random conversation with beside OU. I was like, that's pretty freaking cool, you know. And it never once crossed my mind to get to even ask for a selfie.
Oh no, I did it before I even knew who. I mean, I knew who he was, but I didn't know him. Like I said, then said, "Hey, can I go to a class?" And from then on, he's been like my grandpa. Like he's awesome. He's a very, very cool dude. Did you get to shoot the shit and joke with him at all?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
dude. That's what I'm saying. He's like,
He's funny as shit.
he's funny. He just don't care. He's just like it's whatever, you know.
His main thing is here's Matsada Yube's hack is he's just quiet. Like he just sit there and listen, and then when it's
Yeah,
time to bullshit and kick back, he'll just bullshit and kick back. It's just that
yeah.
most of the time he'll just sit there and listen, and he's not like tuning out. He's there and he's
Well,
aware. He's participating. It's just that he
I think
doesn't need
his
to chime in all the time, and
yeah,
that gives you that. And then he's also got his reputation, but he
right.
doesn't need to talk about it, and that's what helps him. So it's
Well,
not
his
intimidation, but it's like people feel like
it's not active intimidation. That's
his
what I was fixing
presence.
to
His
say. He doesn't
presence is good. Yeah.
actively intimidate anybody, but if you know
And
his
it's immediately
history,
gone as soon as you talk to him. It's
like if
more
you
like a
know his history, if you follow his work, if you just look at his demeanor, right? Like it's intimidating. It's not he's not being intimidated, but he is intimidating. That makes sense. But then yeah, you start a conversation and you start talking to him and oh man,
he's
it's
very
awesome.
disarming as soon as he talks. That's the
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
It's just that because he's so effective or
Yeah.
efficient in his talk, and because he's quiet, I think people feel intimidated until, and then I can say as soon as you talk to him, he's
Yep.
fine.
Yep. And it's hard and that's understandable. A lot of that's understandable. So that's one of the things that's cool to see. Jerry Mitchellek was one of those that ended up having a 45-minute, hour long, I don't even know, conversation with him at the Antares event one year. And had met him multiple times and had small conversations, but never anything like that. Um, he's not quite as intimidating because he's uh, in the public eye. James is one of those that uh, I'll never forget James just simply because James never forgot me, and I wasn't nothing to James, but I was on
You
a
talking James
podcast.
Yeager now?
Yeah, I was on a podcast with him one time, and from then on, every event, like he knew my face. He said, "Hey," we chatted for a little bit, whatever. It's just I'll never forget that about James. That was amazing because I
Yeah,
never went
he's
to a
definitely.
never went to a class, never, nothing.
Well, no, he's definitely one of the unique individuals that I've ever met, and he was able to recollect so much. He didn't drink or do anything, so he had a clear head.
Right.
Um, Compared to a lot of people who just don't even realize how much we're whaling ourselves, even with beers every once in a while, type of stuff. But he also had the intent to want to pay attention to that kind of stuff. He had the Tennessee respect, probably.
Right.
Um, but he also mastered uh, public eye. Like he handled it with like a pro. And when
Yeah.
people wanted selfies, he went all in. He's like, yeah, let's do it. He's had fun with it. He understood how to surf uh, the ups and downs of popularity and in public opinion and the instant blah 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 and the people that last forever, hating you or loving you. And yeah, like I say, unique in his ability to ride that, or I suppose ride it is the way he rode bikes. He rode that well. So anyway, you could always get a selfie with James, and he was, like I say, 100% into it. So I have nothing against it. I see the power of it. I understand it, and um, there's doing it well, and then there's not, and that was definitely his. It was definitely more of an example of doing it well. Um, let's see. Talking about patches again. Oh, Gunsnob said he hasn't met Moss yet. So, Moss, definitely just introduce yourself and now you know him. I mean, he doesn't have any kind of weird barrier to entry or nothing. And he's very, uh, what's the word? He's just very friendly. So I suspect if Moss isn't in a mood to hang out with people, he just doesn't go outside because he's at that level where he can't hang out pretty much anywhere, I would imagine, without people knowing who he is and whatnot.
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, laid
Now,
back
whether or
is
not he'll be at shot, he doesn't. For a long time, he didn't go to shot. It wasn't his
yeah.
thing. He just didn't like. He didn't need it. He didn't go to it. But he has been going more, I think, since being affiliated with Second Amendment Foundation and just,
Right.
not being, well, I think, you know what it is probably, I don't know if he'd ever say this or if it is, I'm just assuming, but it could be that, there was a time when he was one of the very few iconic people in the industry, him, Arlie Ermy, and
Uh-huh.
others that
Yeah.
would get mobbed and swarmed. And now that there's more of that type of people and less of that type of stuff happening, because it doesn't happen anywhere near as much as it used to when there was fewer people, I guess. And
Right.
it was more of a new thing to be like, oh, we can like people immediately. We don't have to like them, only when they're on TV or whatever. Um, that's probably lightening up or changing over the years.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right, we're all over the place. We're at 2 hours.
We
I am going to
are.
do another patch one. I'll talk to Clover off air about when we're going to do the patch one. You'll know it because it'll go live. Otherwise, thanks everybody for joining us for these. Hopefully, everybody's going to have a good time when the industry gets together. It's a big year, important year, like always. And this is a great way to kind of set it off with everyone touching base for the most part who are interested in doing so. Um, One thing we haven't talked at all about in any of these shows is Second Amendment stuff. So I'll probably cram another show in here strictly on Second Amendment stuff at Shot Show this year.
Hmm.
It does slowly evolve, like I don't even know, maybe like roots of mushrooms or something. It's not making a giant effect. It is getting in there. We are seeing things like a seminar at Shot Show for suicide awareness, but we're not seeing seminars for any kind of differently abled peoples, for uh, keeping ranges around, like how to get museums more accessible. How to normalize gun ownership, how to reduce suicides, not just talk about it, but how do we actually reduce suicides? How do we take the lead? How do we have some leadership? How do we take the industry in a direction instead of observing as it goes in random directions? So we're not doing nothing, but we're not doing as much as we could do. So I'll probably have a show where we try to address some of that stuff if possible. Yep, and thanks for the people that are commenting. Snob, Bishop, they'll be at the show. Pink is going to be there. Milsurp will be there. Smeggy, sounds right, he won't be there, unfortunately. He was almost going to be there. Woods, not going to be there. Because he vapes. Is it a relationship? The people that vape ain't going? What's up with that? Tactical Bud? I don't think he's going.
Not this year. He might.
Or
He
does he go
might.
with, he could hitch a ride, jump into one of Ghost's uh, trunks that he travels with. He
We're gonna
travels with
try to
these
get.
giant trunks for all of his wardrobe and stuff.
Yeah, we're gonna
Jump in
try to
one of them.
get. We're gonna try to get Buck out there. Hope maybe next year we can make it happen.
I think I got everybody. Weston was out there earlier, and then Ghost was out there, and Ron Wayne was out there earlier. He asked about, or he said, "Long live 25 ACP." All right, I think. Oh, and then Drew asked about that 357 bullpup thing.
I
That's
will
the
definitely be taking a look at that. They're just going to have a prototype thing there, so who knows? There's a lot of questions around that. I'll probably ask those questions, but that's on the list of some of the cool things that are things I think are kind of neat that I'll be
Is
taking
it
a
its
look
own
at.
company, or is it a thing that a company, established company, is bringing out?
That's its own company. That whatever it is, Fink or whatever. Or
Yeah, so that's always another gamble. They have to not only make a gun that's a thing, they also, it's unproven and
but
untested.
you
They
can
also have to make a
tell.
company at the same time.
Yeah, they've got an address registered like somewhere in California, I think it is, and then you can tell from the site, it's literally like a site built off of Wix, and so it's there's a lot of interesting things. It's not just a bullpup revolver, and a lot of questions I have about the design and stuff on that, but there's um, I don't know. There's just a lot of questions and weirdness around that. But again, I mean, if you're talking about a startup and small company, not a lot of money, trying to get things off the ground. I mean, there might be a certain amount of weirdness compared to major established companies. It may look things may look weird. May mean nothing more than that there.
We're able to do this because of the scroll at the bottom of the screen. Our Patreons make it possible for us to take the time to do this kind of thing, to even consider taking a couple of hours out of a day and focus on something as crazy as the content creators who actually collaborate with each other and attend SHOT Show to share information and not just, you know, create companies or um, partnerships or whatever you want to say, sponsorships. I mean, that's all being done, but our focus is really sharing the show, the community, and strengthening, that stuff so that guns are normalized and we lessen some of these attacks through awareness. And of course, championing the activists that'll be there that are doing their thing around and amidst and in spite of sometimes the industry. And again, it's the Patreons that make it possible for that. I've got a Patreon account. Clover's got one. You just go to patreon.com/ guess what, gun websites or CloverTech. Other people out there are doing interesting things. There's writers, there's comic books, there's musicians. So it's not just for YouTubers. Check it out. Patreon is the venture capitalist of content, of new creation. So you can find artists over there that you dig, and you can help them continue to put effort towards their work. You can find people that are creating content and make it possible for us to spend as much time as possible on this stuff. I think with about 3 times the Patreons we have right now, we could probably do our evening show all night long, kind of like Art Bell used to do. So if it's something you've been thinking about, check it out. If it's something that you've heard other people who use the Patreon thing, let them know about our channels. Because really, Patreons, once they find how interesting it is to support content creation, they typically look around and see what else that they are interested in that they can support. Because it's in like having a subscription to like a Disney or something where you're programmed by an agenda-based board who decides what scripts to fund, and then they spend a bunch of time and money honing the elements of that to program you to buy products typically, or have some kind of opinion on something. If you're not interested in paying for that kind of programming, but instead the creation of content by people that are somewhere between professionals and amateurs working with professional level equipment in their spare time, be part of the creation of the new media. Patreon allows it for now. Trust me, we are in the works to make it a industry type thing, but to get there, Patreon is a great step. So consider jumping over to Patreon, checking out folks like our channels and the people that have been in the panel, other folks you might enjoy. But if you like motorcycles or guitars or something, there's probably somebody on Patreon that's creating interesting content the same way, that's focused on what you're interested in. I'll give Clover the last and then we'll end it. I'll give the last couple of minutes here and then we'll end it. Whatever you want to plug, whatever you got coming up.
I don't have a whole lot. I've been thrown off with the holidays and other things, but my goal is to get a shot. Kind of what I'm looking at, looking forward to whatever it's shot, video dropped. Hopefully today or tomorrow. Yeah, Saturday at the very latest, and then drop one more video before we leave for shot next week. Haven't decided yet if we're leaving out because we are driving. If we're leaving out on sometime Thursday or um sometime Friday, I just don't know yet. But obviously, when we leave out, uh, won't be any long form videos. So you'll see some community tab posts and some shorts and then some same type thing over on Instagram, some pictures and short reels and things like that. Until we get back from shot, I do got the thing going with the card channel tonight. That'll be the last live. I won't have one until we get back from shot on that channel going. So for anybody that I know Smeggy jumps in, and for Smeggy, I do got some modern hockey cards for tonight. So that might be interesting.
Did you even know that we're going shooting in the desert on Sunday morning?
No,
So we were chatting in some chat earlier, probably a nighttime chat that you have to go to sleep for. But everybody's bringing their CCW guns. So I was like, if we're all bringing CCW guns, then why don't we go shoot in the desert? And because half these people they live in places where you can't just go shoot in the desert.
hmm
So there's a place down in the desert we're all going to go on Sunday morning and go shoot, just to go shoot our CCW guns at a target or something. Right. And then, so anyway, if you're interested, we're going to be going shooting. Just go shooting. Not at a range or nothing, just out in the desert, like raw, plain old, just getting together and go shooting.
right.
Anyway, so yeah, thanks for everybody for joining. Do you have any insight on the YouTube? Okay, I'll let you. Well, do you want to answer that one?
I have all kinds of insight. So yeah, I don't know what he's getting at, right? So there's not necessarily a new policy on that. So just because policy, the language in policy may update or change, doesn't mean that the spirit of the policy is any different, right? And so what I will say is that's a complicated thing that requires one-on-one conversation. And Smeggy, if you don't have a way to get a hold of me, um, personally to have that conversation, hit me up on a DM or shoot me an email or something, and we'll fix that, make that happen, and then I'll do what I can to explain and help with that.
Is it something like the speed limit's 50, everybody goes 60, but this time the police officer stopped me for going 55? What's up with that?
Yeah, yeah,
Right?
that's a
Like,
lot of times that's it. A lot of times is yeah, I get so frustrated with everybody else gets away with it, so why didn't I? And I'm like, well, if the speed limit is 55 and you're driving 70, and
was it
everybody
a
else
new
is driving
cop? Was it
70, and you get
raining?
pulled over, like you still were driving faster than the speed limit. So
Was it a new cop? Was it raining? Was the street light out and they thought today was a day to set the
right.
example? Like, did you have a bad muffler and this was a way to stop you? And you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of elements potentially.
Yeah, compliance with the policy, the multiple policies, the best you can comply is the only way to play the game. Blaming or pointing to other channels getting away with it is not. That's not how you do it. But anyway, he didn't say anything about that. But um,
No, I was just trying to
yeah,
use an example that
but
it can be
swearing and
difficult
violence.
because
He says, do you have any insight on the new YouTube rules on swearing and violence? Well, swearing and violence are two totally separate components of policy. So I'm not sure what he saw or what he's heard or what somebody said, but I will tell you this: there's an awful lot of creators that do not understand how YouTube works, and so they will talk about policy from their perspective, which is not YouTube's opinions and perspectives. And when that happens, it's really dangerous. You're relying on that person's opinion, and that person's opinion is in no way influenced by the actual spirit of the policy. That is the thing with YouTube. They use that term a lot. It's not influenced at all by YouTube's spirit of the policy.
right on. Well, we kind of addressed it, I guess, the end there, but then that'll be the end of it.
Yeah,
And
I'm always open to, and Smeggy should know that. I'm always open to a conversation, but unfortunately, things like that get really complex. So if you don't have my number, get in touch with me. I'll get it to you. Give me a call. We'll talk about it.
all right, well, with that, I got a puppy that's wiggling, so that tends to mean somebody wants to go outside again. So good timing. Thanks everybody for showing up, and we'll go with this one.
So let us know what you think. We'll be watching the comments wherever you find the video, over on gunstreamer.com or on guntube.org.
Thank you for supporting our projects. If you'd like to buy us a cup of coffee, check out our Patreon channel.
The guys and gals of gunwebsites.com encourages you to take a CCW class every year, practice at least once a month, and carry every day. Thank you for watching gunwebsites.com.